Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Logan. I'm with Compliance Plus Services. I'm the Vice President of Environmental Services for the company, and we're representing the 25 Van Keuren LLC company that's proposing a facility in the area. So we are going to be just going through a slide presentation as part of this. I'm just going to get started. First of all, just welcome, just so you know that this is a hearing on the Environmental Justice Impact Statement, or EJIS, for the proposed 25 Van Keuren LLC, or Van Keuren, Solid Waste Transfer Station and Material Recovery Facility, which we'll refer to as TS-MRF throughout the presentation, to be located at 25 Van Keuren Avenue in Jersey City, New Jersey, 07306, Hudson County. This public hearing next slide. So this public hearing is being held both online as well as in person. Online attendees are at https://www.complianceplusservices.com/van-keuren for community access. A simultaneous live translation of the hearing will be provided in Spanish to both in-person attendees as well as those attending virtually. To enable those online, to enable the translation, click Show Captions button, and which captions will appear above the controls. So next, you select the language that you're speaking and the language you would like to see the captions to be translated into. We have a screenshot just showing how that's done. Next slide. Just some general meeting information. Tonight's public hearing is beginning at 6 p.m. and will conclude at the completion of public comments or at 8 p.m. This hearing will be recorded, so by joining today, you consent to having your remarks being recorded and shared publicly. Following the meeting, a video recording and hearing transcript will be made available online at https://dep.nj.gov/ej/meetings/. A full copy of the EJIS, the Environmental Justice Impact Statement, and the documents referenced tonight are available electronically at the following locations: at the Environmental Justice website at the https://dep.nj.gov/meetings/ as well as on https://www.complianceplusservices.com/van-keuren. A physical copy of the EJIS has also been made available for review at the Jersey City Municipal Clerk's Office, located at 280 Grove Street, Jersey City, New Jersey, 0720302. Just a few ground rules. We ask everyone to be respectful to the speaker and listeners during both the hearing presentation as well as during the public comment session that will follow at the end of the presentation. Please keep your cell phones on silent, and please save any questions and comments until the presentation concludes. We will announce when will be time to receive questions and comments. So for the presentation tonight, we're going to be going over a brief run through of the environmental justice overview, regulations, the proposed facility location, proposed facility operations. We will discuss the environmental justice stressor assessment that was conducted as part of the environmental justice impact statement, a discussion on compelling public interest, our conclusions, and then we will have our public comment session. Just for an overview, the environmental justice regulations were passed, a law was adopted in September 2020, which was the first of its kind that directed the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, or New Jersey, or NJDEP, to implement a program to review and evaluate potential environmental and public health impacts of certain facilities in overburdened communities, or OBCs. The review process is required for selected facility environmental permit applications that could result in new impacts to the existing overburdened communities. On April 17, 2023, the environmental justice regulations, or EJ rules, were adopted under NJAC 7:1C to establish specific impact assessment requirements and enhance public outreach procedures that applications must follow when seeking to permit new facilities, expand existing facilities, or renew permits for major sources of emissions located or proposed to be located in OBCs. As required under the new EJ rules, applicants seeking these select permits in OBCs must prepare an environmental justice impact statement consistent with the requirements specified under NJAC 7:1C. So for tonight's EJIS project applicability, Van Keuren is proposing to construct and operate a new solid waste transfer station and material recovery facility located at 25 Van Keuren Avenue in New Jersey City. As a solid waste transfer station, the proposed operation would meet one of the 8 designated facility types covered under the department's new EJ rules. Van Keuren is seeking individual permits for solid waste facility and for an air quality permit for a pre-construction permit to operate a point source equipment. The proposed site is located in an overburdened community, an OBC, and based on the census block group determined by New Jersey DEP as meeting one of the following requirements. That there's 35% or more of the households qualify as low-income households, 40% or more of the residents identify as minorities or as members of state-recognized tribal communities, or 40% or more of the households have limited English proficiency. In this case, this OBC has met all 3 of those requirements. So the application that was filed with the New Jersey DEP, the solid waste permit application, was submitted by Van Keuren to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, Bureau of Solid Waste Permitting on October 21st, 2019, prior to the adoption of the EJ rules and EJ law. During the review process, an updated application was submitted to NJDEP on June 21st, 2024, as part of an agreement with the Bureau of Solid Waste Permitting to include an EJIS with the application. So the solid waste facility application review process has been paused until pending a decision on the EJIS. The EJIS was prepared by Compliance Plus Services to evaluate and assess potential environmental and public health stressor impacts that may be associated with the proposed TS-MRF. The EJIS includes detailed environmental assessment information related to the proposed facility and operations to satisfy the requirements specified by the NJDEP under NJAC 7:1C, and specifically those sections under 3.2, 3.3, and subchapter 5. Additionally, an air quality permit for a pre-construction permit under PCP 240001 was also submitted to NJDEP's Division of Air Quality for review and approval. The application addresses the installation of an air pollution control system and related equipment that will operate as part of the environmental management and control measures that are proposed at the facility to employ to mitigate potential odors and emissions from the facility. Under the EJ rules and consistent with the definition provided under NJAC 7:1C-1.5, the EJIS prepared for Van Keuren proposed TS-MRF is required to provide a systematic, interdisciplinary, and integrated assessment of environmental and public health conditions and the overburdened community to identify and analyze existing environmental and public health stressors, any adverse environmental, public, and health stressors, the presence or absence of adverse cumulative stressors, potential environmental and public health stressors associated with the Van Keuren facility, whether the facility can avoid causing disproportionate impact, and the measures the facility has proposed to implement to avoid or address any disproportionate impacts. So the proposed facility location. So the Van Keuren TSF MRF will be located at 25 Van Keuren Avenue, Jersey City, Hudson County, New Jersey. The location is on the northwest side of Jersey City and lies within the portion of the Hackensack Meadowlands District, where solid waste is managed under the New Jersey Sports and Exposition Authority, or NJSEA. The 2.1 acres property is currently utilized as a truck depot for the affiliate waste management and hauling business, Joseph Spankowski, Inc., or JSI, as well as an ancillary repair facility. The existing facility, which includes an 1,574 square foot building, is still operated by JSI and contains offices, warehousing, maintenance shops, recycling bins, and assorted truck parking and storage. The current activities that will be discontinued when the future construction process associated with the proposed TSMRF commences. The property is bordered to the north across Van Keuren Avenue by the property formerly owned by PSE&G for their Hudson County generating station, which includes and now includes 3 large recently constructed warehouse facilities. To the east is a current truck operation that is to be taken over by New Jersey Transit for the use of stormwater detention basin. And to the south is the embankment associated with the New Jersey Transit rail lines. And to the west is James Avenue and the trucking operations beyond. Highway, commercial, and industrial zoning districts beyond the NJSEA zoning district are approximately 1,500 feet to the east and south of the site, respectively. And the Hudson River lies approximately 1,500 feet to the west of the site. And the NJSEA zoning district extends to the north beyond the boundary of Jersey City. So the proposed facility is actually located in the NJSEA zoning district, which is permitted for a heavy industrial land use. The proposed transfer station material recovery facility is a permitted and authorized use that matches the immediate surrounding uses, shown by the map as indicated. The OBC area is located in a low population portion of the city and is physically separated by both rail and highway from nearby more populated residential communities. You can see in the upper right-hand corner, the oddly shaped outline in blue is the overburdened community block group. Next slide. So Van Keuren received approval for inclusion for the TSMRF within the New Jersey Sports and Exhibition Authority District Solid Waste Management Plan on March 12, 2015. The New Jersey Commissioner subsequently certified the facility as part of the NJSEA plan on August 19, 2015. As a public utility approved within the NJSEA District Solid Waste Management Plan, the proposed facility will directly serve essential environmental, health, and safety needs of the individuals in the Hackensack Meadowlands area through its role in the management of solid waste generated within the OBC and neighboring NJSEA communities. Just a bit about general operations of transfer stations, in case you haven't run one. Municipal solid waste transfer station and material recovery facilities serve an important and necessary role in the management of household, commercial, industrial, and other waste generated daily throughout the state. And their importance increases dramatically in highly urbanized communities. The TSMRF facilities do not generally produce the waste that they handle, and they do not conduct waste disposal or conversion through treatment. The role is to provide a safe and accessible location in proximity of where the wastes are first generated by homes, businesses, schools, etc., that can provide a central point to allow local collection vehicles to come and deposit the waste collected. This permits efficiencies in collection, as well as removing trucks, the small trucks, off the road efficiently throughout the day. The TSMRF receiving the incoming waste will sort, categorize, and reduce the volume and densify the waste to optimize both the amount of material that can be removed from the waste, that can be recovered, reclaimed, or recycled and returned to the marketplace as new products, and to increase the bulk density of the waste, essentially a cubic yard per ton, to reduce the number of long-haul shipment trucks that have to go to landfills or disposal facilities. In New Jersey, this means shipping to another state. The location of the proposed Van Keuren TSMRF provides a location proximate to the waste generation that allows multiple existing solid waste collection vehicles to aggregate and compact materials into a single larger vehicle to help reduce the local number of trucks on roadways and recover materials that can be recycled and reused rather than sent to a landfill for disposal. The proposed TSMRF is designed to support New Jersey's recycling targets as established by the Mandatory Source Separation and Recycling Act of 1987. It aims to help the state achieve 50% reduction of municipal solid waste and 60% of the total solid waste stream. The proposed TSMRF will positively promote employing residents in Jersey City and surrounding area in Hudson County, with 14 critical staff positions needed, aligning with the community and community development and land employment, local employment. While one other transfer station is located in Jersey City, this TSMRF will offer an opportunity for communities to pursue additional recycling and will help with the handling and increase recycling generation associated with the anticipated future area population growth. Yeah. So the proposed operations. Proposed Van Keuren facility will accept up to 750 tons per day of the following types of waste. Type 10 or municipal waste, type 13 or bulky waste, type 13C or construction and demolition waste, type 23 or vegetative waste, type 25 or animal or food processing waste, and type 27 dry industrial solid waste. The facility may also receive recovery recyclable materials such as cardboard, metal, wood, and concrete. The facility anticipates that it will be recycling approximately 7% of incoming materials by weight. The facility will operate over a 6-day period running from Monday through Saturday. The facilities will be permitted to accept waste from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for receiving, and the waste processing may occur from 6 to 10 p.m., including staging or handling or loading of transfer trailers for the next day. It's important to note that the facility will not be used to store solid waste. Solid waste do have to be removed from the site every 24 hours. Or by the next business day. Tracking out previous waste will become a 4 to 6 a.m. to allow for transfer trailers to move out in off-peak hours and minimize traffic impacts. So this shows an overview of the proposed facility, which is the site, and shows an addition of a 12,550 square foot building to be added to the end of the existing building that's already at the site. The site's already strategically laid out in a rectangular fashion and slightly sloped from the back to the front, close to the New Jersey Transit rail lines. And the design accommodates incoming and outgoing waste vehicles via the entranceways for two scales, one coming inbound, one going outbound. The materials are efficiently managed and sorted on the tipping floor and processing area. This shows the interior of the proposed building. The facility will have 5 entrances or 5 doors located on the east side of the building that will allow for trucks to enter the building, and so that wastes are handled fully within the enclosed structure. So the inside facility waste is sorted manually with assistance of loaders and similar equipment. The sorted waste is then managed through various processes. Some materials are baled as needed before being shipped off-site, such as cardboard. This system aligns with environmental management practices and ensures efficient recycling efforts. For outgoing materials, the facility relies on a robust transportation system, including transfer vehicles. Again, no wastes are stored within the building for more than 24 hours. The building floor is required to be cleaned once every 24 hours, once wastes are removed on a continual basis to reduce and eliminate the potential for odors. All the wastes are loaded inside the building. So it shows an outbound trailer just on the left edge of the facility, which will be taking out the materials once they've been dumped onto the operating floor and processed as to compact and densify the material. Next slide. As I said, there's 5 doors on the east side of the building. Which will allow for the building to be in total enclosed. The door furthest to the left is for outbound vehicles exiting the building. The 3 adjacent doors are for inbound waste to be able to be brought into the tipping floor. And a smaller door is onto the right is for materials that will be coming in that are primarily recyclables and or from small load trailers or contractors. In the case of significant operational interruptions, a contingency plan is in place, including temporary closure, notifying the NJDEP, and rerouting waste to other facilities. And this enables the compliance with the regulations on the minimal disruptions in waste management flow, as well as allowing the facility to ensure that the waste are not staged in the building for more than the 24-hour period. All wastes that are received at the Van Keuren site are placed within the facility's enclosed processor building, which operates under negative air pressure, such that all emissions inside the process building are serviced by an air pollution control system unit, or an APC unit. The APC unit will address potential odors or pollutants via filters that remove particulates from the ventilated air being emitted through an APC exhaust stack. The APC system also collects and filters 60,000 cubic yards of 60,000 cubic feet per minute within the building, which actually exceeds the New Jersey DEP required design criteria. The APC system also has filters that are for organic controls and eliminate odors. Traffic access to the facility has been shown to come into the facility as in the lower left-hand side of the slide. Recently, an alternative truck route will be added to the facility, which will allow the facility to accept waste that are coming from the northbound into the facility and bypassing any residential use of St. Paul's Avenue. Next slide. Outbound truck traffic, again, tries to minimize any trucks going into residential communities and will be maximized to just utilize the current configurations of the highway systems that are available adjacent to the facility. Next slide. So as part of the EJIS, we conducted an environmental stressor assessment. So just a couple of general terms. First, an environmental, public, and health stressor, or stressor, means sources of environmental pollution or conditions that may cause potential health impacts and develop problems in the overburdened community. Examples include concentrated areas of air pollution sources, mobile sources of air pollution, contaminated sites, point sources of water pollution discharges, and others. An adverse stressor, or an adverse environmental and public health stressor, which you'll hear referred to in the preceding slides, is a stressor in the overburdened community that has been identified as being higher than the OBC's geographic point of comparison, or the GPC, or would be made higher than the OBC GPC as a result of the facility's contribution. The geographic point of comparison is a reference comparison area, an actual value, used to determine whether conditions in the overburdened community are subject to one or more of adverse environmental and public health stressors, as determined by selecting the lower value of the state or county's 50th percentile impact value and calculating calculated in a value that will be excluding any of the overburdened communities within that geographic area. These are published by New Jersey DEP, the assessments done by them for the state and county areas. And we utilize that information as part of the assessment process. An assessment was conducted pursuant to NJDEP's and EJ law, and information was generated using NJDEP's Environmental Justice Mapping Assessment and Protection Tool, or EJ MAP, to obtain an OBC stressor summary report, which indicates the adverse environmental and public health stressors for the proposed facilities block group. NJDEP has identified 26 specific stressors that fall under one of the 8 categories listed below. So these include contaminated areas, concentrated areas of air pollution, mobile sources of air pollution, contaminated sites, transfer station or other solid waste facilities, recycling facilities, and scrap metal facilities, and point source of water pollution, areas that may cause potential public health impacts, density population, density proximity stressors, and social determinants of health. For reference, the block group that we're looking at, as depicted in the area, it's a little difficult to see on the slide that we showed earlier, is block group 3401700690001, which is located in Jersey City, and just deals with that one specific group. In that particular OBC area, 19 of the 26 NJDEP stressors identified as adverse. This indicates a pre-existing cumulative environmental burden. The stressors identified are area-wide within the OBC and not facility specific. We've included on this slide a table that lists all of the 26 stressors that were reviewed as part of the assessment. As you can tell from the table, we've identified the specific stressor, such as ground level ozone in 3-year average days above standard, whether it was adverse or not within the OBC, and then whether the facility has the potential to impact the associated stressor from its operations. We also reviewed whether the construction of the facility would also cause impacts to that particular stressor that would have to be determined or minimized or rectified with the community. Of the 26 stressors that are identified here, 7 of these were identified as potentially impacted by proposed facility operations, which we'll discuss. So first, for the construction of the site and general site improvements, the potential site improvements and construction phase impacts are generally temporary and short in nature. However, following installation, several of the site improvements and site conditions, such as drainage, stormwater improvements, traffic controls, and the building enclosure, will have longer term benefits and environmental enhancements. During construction, existing site traffic operations will cease. The current trucking depot will stop, reducing the current stressors, such as those associated with the truck traffic and diesel emissions. The reductions in the current activities are expected to be more than offset the impacts potentially associated with the site improvements and construction. Accordingly, no new impacts are expected to be associated with the planned site improvements or construction phase of the project. For the facility operations, proposed facility operations themselves, based on a review conducted under the EJIS, the proposed facility operations are not expected to impact 15 of the 19 existing adverse stressors in the OBC. 7 stressors were identified as potentially impacted based on assumed worst case proposed facility operations, operating at its maximum capacity for the 312 days that it's potentially open for within a year. 3 of the stressors identified as potentially impacted based on the assumed worst case proposed facility operations are PM 2.5 and diesel particulate matter, cancer risk from diesel particulate matter, and non-cancer risk from toxics. Based on analysis of these potential impacts, none of the stressors will become adverse due to proposed facility operations. So no new adverse stressors. We'll go over that a little bit more in detail in a minute. The remaining 4 stressors identified as potentially impacted are identified as existing adverse stressors. These include ground level ozone, heavy duty truck traffic, solid waste facility, it's based on a sites per square mile, permitted air sites. And based on the analysis of these stressors, their proposed impact is not significant. Next slide, man. Next slide. So I'm going to go through this just individually. Again, we had 3 stressors that were found to be, they're not adverse at this time in the OBC. They are fine particulate matter, PM 2.5, based on a 3-hour average above the standard. So the particular increase in the PM 2.5 emissions are principally associated with the increase to vehicle traffic. PM 2.5 includes diesel particulates. The emissions from the proposed building operations and mobile equipment that's operated at the site are also contributing factors. Worst case potential to emit from all these sources are estimated to be at 0.0176 tons per year. It says emissions from the vehicles are based on net increase in difference when current operations are suspended or ceased. So the current site already operates as a truck depot. When these trucks are no longer accessing the site and it's just to a transfer station operation, we looked at the delta or the net difference between those current trucks that are accessing the facility, which are about 50 per day, to the number of trucks that could potentially operate at the facility. In addition to the actual truck emissions, we also looked at the amount of wear and tear on tires that create PM 2.5. We looked at the equipment operating inside that are operated by diesel fuel burning equipment, as well as the potential for any of these salts that are being processed inside to be at the 2.5 ppm or less in size. So these potential increases in PM 2.5 emissions are not significant and does not create a new adverse condition for the stressors in the community. So we've also looked at cancer risk from diesel particulate matter. Emissions from the vehicles are based, again, on a net increase difference over current operations. When added to mobile equipment, potential emissions that would result in diesel particulates is 0.0054 tons per year, about 35 pounds. So please note that the emissions are already included in the PM 2.5 that we've already cited above. And the facility has committed to implementing fleet improvements on scheduled basis to upgrade fleet diesel efficiencies through maintenance and replacement as needed, as new improvements in technology and engine efficiencies are developed to meet EPA standards. Since these potential emissions, again, do not raise these particulates above the level that would make this a new adverse stressor for the OBC. For non-cancer risks from air toxics, were also reviewed. So the facility not specifically accept any material that is expected to have or any air toxics associated with its handling or processing at the facility. However, we did address this as part of the assessment as potential for any off-spec or unwanted material that arrives at the site. To maximize the protection of human health and the environment, the facility's air pollution control system is designed with a 95% or greater removal efficiency to reduce and remove potential emissions of toxic organics compounds, and will move or reduce up to 99% or more of potential toxic particulates emissions. So there's no increase from this stressor. For the adverse stressors that were looked at in the OBC community, first is the ground level ozone. So ground level ozone levels is a colorless gas that is formed from volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, and nitrous oxides, NOx, that react with sunlight and heat and can lead to respiratory or cardiovascular issues. Both VOCs and NOx are produced by combustion of fossil fuels, such as diesel fuel. So the potential increase in truck traffic use of mobile equipment that are associated with the proposed facility have the potential to increase emissions of these compounds, and therefore the potential to increase ground level ozone. The emissions are relatively small, and approximately for VOCs, for the 16% of the level of NOx would be below the major source threshold that would require that to be an environmental condition that would be regulated under the EJ rules. In addition, there's less than 2.5% of the total VOCs that would be above, that would meet of the threshold limit. EPA required improvements in internal engine effectiveness in controlling VOC and NOx that have increased significantly over the past 25 years and are continuing to be more stringent. The facility has committed to implementing fleet improvement schedules, which will include mobile equipment, to upgrade engines efficiencies and meet new EPA standards through maintenance replacement as needed and when available. The current OBC block level is currently above the statewide rate for ozone level, ground level ozone. However, it's below the county specific rate for ground level ozone at the 50% GPC level. The potential increase in the potential for ground level ozone from the proposed facility operations are minimal and are not expected to significantly contribute to adverse stressors in the OBC community. The traffic of heavy duty trucks. As previously discussed, at the current site consists of truck transportation services and existing truck traffic that will no longer be associated with the site following the commencement of construction activities for the proposed facility. Assuming that the facility is operating at its maximum permitted capacity of 750 tons per day, the operation is expected to produce an additional 80 trucks per day, accessing the facility, or an average of 7 trucks per hour over the facility's 12-hour acceptance period. An initial traffic study was performed September 10th, 2019,
7 years ago.
and updated again in January 9th, 2024.
2 years ago.
Both reports concluded that the traffic impact from the proposed facility operations would not adversely affect traffic conditions or local roadways and intersections.
Who did the study? Who did the study? The study.
A copy of the study is in the Environmental Justice Impact Statement,
Who did it?
and it was done by another firm.
Who hired? Right. Well, the applicant.
We're holding all comments until the end, please. The solid waste facilities, there are one other solid waste transfer station that's located within a 1 mile radius of the proposed location. However, it is only a transfer station located in the OBC. The facility has been included as part of the NJSEA District Solid Waste Management Plan to provide essential and solid waste services to the OBC and surrounding communities within the NJSEA district. Potential air sites. There are currently 84 minor source permitted facilities within the mile radius of the proposed facility and 1 major source facility. Only 1 of 10 of the facilities are actually located within the OBC. The proposed facility will be a small minor source that will allow the facility to address the air pollution control system to reduce actual site emissions from the handling and processing of solid waste. It's a necessary part. Lastly, compelling public interest. So we have a regional need for the infrastructure that provides an additional permitted waste management capacity and establishes an industrial corridor in Jersey City. Supports reliable handling in regional waste streams and reduces reliance on the constraints of older age facilities. It improves efficiencies of the waste transfer and handling when regulated framework. Recycling environmental benefits include enhances material recovery and supports the statewide recycling diversion objectives, reduces the volume of waste requiring disposal, centralizes handling in the controlled and enclosed facility versus less controlled alternatives. The facility has a modern design. The facility that fully encloses the operations under negative pressure to enclose emissions and drive them towards an air pollution control system that effectively removes 99% of particulates and up to over 95% of VOC and or odors, and maintains the facility offsite impacts. Compatibility with the current existing conditions are located in established industrial areas. There's no degradation in the level of traffic service on local roadways. It's consistent with the permitted zoning and surrounding land use and infrastructure. There are incremental impacts, limited impacts, primarily from truck traffic and mobile sources, qualified to using conservative assumptions. We have no impacts to the major or identified stressors for 15 of the 19 adverse stressors identified for the OBC. No new categories of environmental burden introduced. And so that the regulatory conclusions are that we provide essential waste management services, recycling infrastructure. So the importance of monitoring controls and improvement upon typical operations. Impacts are bounded and mitigated to the extent possible and appropriate for the setting. So our conclusions. The project provides the facility control management. While limited incremental impacts, primarily traffic, are identified, impacts are bounded and mitigated.
We have interference. We can't hear.
You can't hear?
Now we can. Someone was talking.
That was him.
And the proposed facility.
When will the public comment begin?
Are we ever going to be able to speak, or are you just going to keep speaking?
Yeah.
So that concludes our meeting. We are going to start the public comment session now. No, we will not be taking any questions so we can get everybody's public comments in. Yeah. So this is this is a hearing. Okay. It's not a question and answer period. It's to allow people to voice concerns. All of the questions that are raised, please, all the questions that are raised, we are going to be preparing written responses to all the comments, questions, and everything that's diverts in here tonight. We have a lot of people.
And God knows where in Jersey.
So, sir, just a minute, just please. You can make any comments that are on. We ask that everybody, yeah. I'm going to ask everybody to we're just going to take your comments. Yeah.
Councilman.
We have the commissioner. We have a commissioner with us. Go ahead.
We have the senator here too.
We doing the list?
I'm Tom Zupa.
Yeah, sorry.
Howard, more than the applause. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. I think I need yours. I'm Tom Zupa, Z-U-P-P-A. I'm a councilman for Ward C in Jersey City. It's our residents in our ward that will be most impacted by this plan. And you know, we always see proposals. All right, thanks, Tony. We always see proposals, and some are, you know, can go either way. And I usually judge those by the good faith of the people proposing it, by having a meeting in Ward A or Ward B. I forget where we are currently. Right? A. Far away from the residents that are being impacted by this with bad side of bad faith. I'm answering the question. I'm answering questions that are pertinent side of bad faith. This plan is an easy no-go. No. It was a bad idea. 10 years later, while we have the development going on in Jersey City, the need has still not been established for this proposal. We have thousands of new units in Journal Square alone, and we don't have a need for additional garbage facility. What we're trying to build in Ward C is a place for community, for families, for clean air and parks. And that part of St. Paul's Avenue, including that area, where Mana Contemporary is proposed a art center going into Kenco Park, building the clean air and the green space that we need. Let alone the fact that adding 80 trucks to Tunnelly Avenue and to going to either towards Pulaski or 109 is a residential local street. So people get home here. 130, 80 on top of what's already going, right? Put aside that that's an asinine reasoning. The fact that we know more now today about environmental impacts of trucking and not having clean air, that this is an additional burden on the children we want to play in the neighborhood. It's not good for Jersey City. It's certainly not good for Ward C. And I would hope you would take questions. Since you're not, though, I will say this: can you establish the need for our community for this station?
So, well, listen, for the questions, literally, we want to try to get everybody up here. We're going to get it on the record. We will come out and actually answer the questions as quickly as possible following this, but I want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to speak. Also, just as a housekeeping mentioned, I'm going to ask everybody to hold their speaking to 3 minutes so we can get through everybody that's here. And we also have a lot of people online that would like to speak. It should be, yes.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Mamta Singh. I'm council at large in Jersey City. And my first question is, how about community output? Is it important or not? We are living there. It is extremely congested area. It is right next to Indian Street, where we have congested business area. How about the parks? We are not talking about parks and we are creating this. We are talking about pollution. How many families? One temple right across from street. And school, charter school, 2 blocks from there. So I'm sorry? Senior housing. And as Tom said, that 10 years back, yeah, not a bad idea. But right now, that was also a bad idea. But I'm just saying now, 10 years when we have more population and we are thinking about this and not answer. We have enough time. You can answer our questions, take as much time as needed. We are not in rush, but absolutely not. I am telling as a council or as a resident, we would never support this. Thank you.
County Commissioner Bill O'Day. I've represented this area for about 35 of the last 40 years of my life. One of the worst things I've ever seen proposed. I think. I think that the NJSEA has the power to do things like this without any local control. Senator Rajman Kurzi earlier needs to be changed. This won't even be in our solid waste plan. As a county commissioner, we vote on every site put in the solid waste plan, but we won't vote on this one. So you're allowed to impose this with no local control, with no elected official having any input at any say, without any local planning board or zoning board having any public hearing. I doubt anyone in this room even knew when this board met to adopt and include this in a plan in 2015. You do not meet the standard of a compelling environmental justice reason to grant this. And listening to your presentation today, we don't have the time in 3 minutes to rebuff point by point by point, but we will. We will by whatever mechanism and channel that we have. And lastly, to echo what Tom Zupa said, this meeting shouldn't have been here. It should have been in Our Lady of Mount Carmel. If people should walk there, if people should get there, quite frankly, shame on the DEP for allowing an applicant to hold a public meeting so far from where the source of the site is.
That's right.
Thank you very much. Next one, please, we have a mic or do we use your head mic?
Before I read what I was gonna say, I would like to ask a question. There is a place down there called Smithkowski who does oh, I'm sorry, Arnold Benninger. 225 St. Paul's Avenue. I'm a former councilman of Woods City for many years. Smithkowski is down there, does non-hazardous waste. Why are you? Okay. Hello?
Turn off the volume. That's amazing about cops.
Hello?
Just speak into the mic.
Maybe if I hold this better. Hello, can you? One of the questions, they're taking over Smithkowski, which does non-hazardous waste. What are they doing that they need special permission to do this? That's the, a main question. And they didn't, DEP didn't do the study. It was done by a private company, which really, I'm not sure that that's going to work. But let me read what I'm going to say. My name is Arnold Benninger. I'm a former councilman, lifelong resident of Jersey City. I'm here to strongly oppose the proposed solid waste transfer stations. This project would bring up to 170 diesel trucks a day, operating potentially 24 hours, carrying hundreds of tons of waste throughout the community. These trucks will travel along Tunley Avenue, Route 1 and 9, and St. Paul's Avenue, which he didn't say, because I have the truck route here as a copy. These roads are already burdened with heavy traffic. This will worsen air quality, increase noise, and disrupt daily life of residents. This facility is planned near homes, schools, churches, and senior housing. That is simply not appropriate location for an operation of this scale. No community, especially one like ours, should be asked to live with constant odors, pollution, industrial traffic at all hours. Jersey City is recognized as an overburdened community under the New Jersey landmark environmental justice law. This law exists to prevent exactly this kind of cumulative impact. Another high impact facility here would only deepen existing environmental and public concerns. We are also concerned about the site's proximity to a Hackensack River and the potential risks of runoff contaminations. Communities in New Jersey, like Keyport, have seen what happens when oversight fails. We can now not allow history to repeat itself. This is just not a waste management. It is not about fairness. It's about health and the right of residents to live in a safe and environmental community that's safe. Yeah, one more page. I respectfully urge New Jersey DEP not to grant an exemption to the existing law and our elected officials to deny this permit. Thank you.
There you go. Everybody hear me okay? First of all, thank you for the presentation and your energy and enthusiasm. But since it was not succinct, I hope that will not curtail the public's ability to speak. Raj Mukherjee, State Senator for the 32nd District. There's a standard that is reflected in the DEP's rules when evaluating a project or proposed project such as this, which is based on a law signed in 2020, where the legislature made a clear and a deliberate choice. And that is that overburdened communities and our dense, urban, beautifully diverse community is an overburdened one, will not be asked any longer to continue to shoulder disproportionate environmental and public health risks. And that standard is now in the DEP's rules. NJAC, you gonna start me? I got an extra 30 seconds. I have 25 seconds.
You just
There we go.
go through.
Okay. So that standard is now in the DEP's rules, and it's straightforward and it's strict. If a project cannot avoid contributing to cumulative harm, It must be denied unless there is a compelling public interest. And that language is important because it was meant to change the outcomes in these proposals. And that exception was narrow. That exception and that language was based on a law I know something about because my name was on. All right, now starting with that baseline, simply put, this application does not meet that standard. There's been no showing those impacts can be avoided. Actually, the presentation itself mentioned the stressors that they're admitting to. Those three stressors, we might disagree on the other seven, but the three that you acknowledge are cancer risk, non-cancer risk. I mean, those are pretty significant.
Need to move on.
What's that?
You can wrap up a little quicker. I'm sorry.
I still got a minute 40. I still got a minute 40. You're inhaling too many diesel contaminants. So look, respectfully, sir, the pattern is a familiar one and unacceptable, which is that urban communities bear a disproportionate share of those harms and the health consequences that follow. And the proposed Van Keuren facility would deepen that inequity here in Jersey City. Residents of the Heights and Journal Square, by the way, are already living with elevated risk. By the way, that's where this hearing should be. I echo the commissioner's point. In Hudson County, asthma-related ER visits exceed the state average, and diesel particulate matter, a driver of respiratory disease, and one that was acknowledged in the stressors, is more than double the statewide level. Okay, so these are not abstractions. And P.S., we just saw our hospital and then our ER close in succession against state law in the Heights. These are not abstractions. They're the baseline conditions of life in our community, yet this project thinks that it makes sense to absorb more. With the 30 seconds that I have remaining, others will talk about the large-scale nature of the facility, the tonnage of waste per day, the hundreds of truck trips through our neighborhoods, and that these burdens will not fall evenly. But I'll just point out that the EJ impact statement from the proposer mentions economic benefits. Like, read the law. The DEP has determined that they can't consider economic benefits as a basis for citing new regulated facilities in overburdened communities in order to meet the statutory mandate, because that might be at odds with environmental health and economic well-being. This is an illegal project. It must be denied under the law. Thank you.
Jake Epros, Councilman, Ward D here in Jersey City. Ward D being the site of 25 Van Keuren, where this is going to be located. So this is absolutely close to home for us in the Heights and the slopes. And I think it is very clear that the public sees this project as deeply dangerous and deeply unnecessary as well. So I had the privilege of getting to speak to someone from the company, Mr. Giordano, earlier this month. Expressed some frustration about the fact that this meeting was not going to be held anywhere near the actual site at which this plant is going to be located or would be located if it got approval. And we got a commitment from Mr. Giordano and the company to hold an additional public meeting for the community outside of what is required by DEP up closer to the site. So Mr. Giordano, thank you for that. We're going to hold you to that, and we're going to make sure that additional public meeting happens so more neighbors who are going to be immediately affected by this can also have their voices heard. Because one of the main concerns here is that given all of the adverse effects, there has to be a compelling public interest, and the compelling public interest cannot just be so that regional waste can get sorted out, additional regional waste can get sorted out somewhere. It has to be a compelling public interest for the affected community. And telling folks that live on Liberty or that live on Spruce Street that the compelling public interest is to sort out regional waste, I think is fairly bogus. We're going to need something a little bit more substantial than that, right? So I can't go back to my constituents. I can't go back to my neighbors and tell them that I am compelled by this public interest that I've heard today, and that, in fact, I'm actually pretty concerned about the adverse effects that we've heard today instead. So Appreciate that everyone is going to be out here. I'm going to cut it there because we have a lot more people who want to make a lot more comments. But thank you all for showing up. Make your voice heard and stay involved in this process as we get another public meeting on the books, okay?
Good evening. My name is Keuren, and this is my 2.5-year-old daughter, Zara. I would love somebody from the DEP to look her in the face, and I'm not using her as a prop right now. I was watching her blow bubbles before, and I'd love to know who from Compliance Plus Services or from the DEP or from Galaxy Waste is going to look her in the face and say that it's fine that her ability to blow bubbles in her future can be impacted by your decision to truck waste in from other towns into Jersey City so that it can be sorted near my house, near my daughter, so that her air is worse off. Yeah. I would love to hear it. Regarding this EJIS, you talk a lot about how the ground level ozone and PM 2.5 and diesel particulate matter is elevated. But don't worry, there's railroad tracks and a highway nearby. As if railroad tracks and a highway are magically stopping airborne pollutants from polluting the air for an entire neighborhood, for an entire city of almost 300,000 people. When this was initially approved in 2015, I'd like to remind everybody that PSE&G was still operating a coal-fired power plant across the street. That was 11 years ago. The entire coal power plant has been decommissioned, has been demolished, is now a trucking facility that NJSEA also approved without any community feedback. This is a completely inappropriate proposal for a residential neighborhood that no longer has a coal-fired power plant, that has seen its population grow by nearly 10% in the last 10 years, that continues to grow. In addition, while I appreciate that this was live translated into Spanish, I would very seriously question whether that is the predominantly spoken language in the overburdened community in the immediate area around this project, because you are absolutely excluding a large number of people from this is an inaccessible meeting to a large number of people living in the overburdened community. Thank you.
Sure, so this probably works. Does this work? So, my name is Isaac Smith. I'm from the Mayor's Office, Senior Policy Advisor for the Mayor, and I'm here to read a statement from the Mayor who could not be here tonight. And to start off simply, Mayor Solomon is opposed to this procedure and to this application. He's also has deep concerns about the application and the EJIS study being presented here tonight. He's also opposed because we see zero compelling public interest for this project. There's no reason for this, and as he expected, the presentation shows no compelling interest for this project. We have serious concerns about the traffic, public health, and environmental impacts of a 750 ton per day solid waste facility within 1 mile of major parks, environmentally sensitive locations, and Journal Square, one of the densest places in the state. Additionally, the applicant has made zero outreach to the city and the administration, no call, no attempt to meet on this proposal. And as to the specifics of this application, I know a lot of people said, about general things, but we do have some specifics which the administration is sincerely concerned about the details in which we think are incorrect in this impact study. We want to make sure the applicant is aware of the opposition of the mayor and the public is aware, but we will also be sending a much more formal public comment with a lot more details of our concerns. But let's start with traffic. So we deeply question this claim that this is not going to have a massive impact on the city. This is part of, as they said, the Meadowlands Solid Waste District. And their report says 10 towns in Bergen County will have access to use this solid waste site. So most of these trucks will be coming down 1 and 9 on Tunley Avenue into the already overburdened Tunnelly Circle. You're talking 260 truck trips a day in an area that's already overpolluted because of the traffic in Tunnelly Circle. And as to the traffic study, the updated traffic study you submitted, based on a cursory review, our infrastructure team they have a number of questions, a number of concerns. For example, the impact statement and the engineering design report do not appear to be signed and sealed by a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. The department is confused as there are new traffic counts from their updated traffic survey, but the analysis itself does not appear to be updated. The signal phasing, the red light timing at Tunnelly and St. Paul's has not been in the report has not been enforced for years. The traffic analysis is only from and to the state highway and does not show what the effect would be on the state highway. State highway. Additionally, it doesn't show about anything about the population growth, and the plan also still states that they will use St. Paul's Avenue, which is a residential street, which prohibits trucks east of Tunnelly Avenue. And now, regarding the environmental concerns, even your own report mentions that there will be impacts, but this site sits within a mile of already overburdened communities, numerous schools and parks, and one of the largest population centers in the state, Journal Square. And the report makes specific claims, again, we have questions about. The report says that there will be no recreation in the immediate areas, but this is going to be directly across the street from the planned Hudson, Texas Greenway. People will be walking across the Meadowlands and coming right out in front of a solid waste plant. It is also within a mile of one of, if not the largest municipal park in the city, Persian Field, and the environmentally important and preserved reservoir. And there are numerous other little claims. One, for example, and Parks is going to be speaking in a second here, is claiming something so simple about the effect on animals. They say that there are no birds in the region. When we have the reservoir, birds, I know. But no, we have the reservoir, and the reservoir gets over 100 different species, but their report says none. So these are just a subset of the administration's concerns. We'll be submitting a larger formal public comment to you as well. We have already spoken to the DEP, and they will graciously agree to meet with us so we can explain these concerns directly to them. Frankly, we don't think this EJIS is ready to even go forward to the DEP, and we look forward to the opportunity to submit a much more detailed testimony, both to the applicant and to the regulators.
I know. Yeah, we're just going to try to keep it at the 3 minutes, but I appreciate it.
My name is Dawn Giambalvo. I am the Green Infrastructure Specialist, and I work within the Department of Parks and Recreation. I am also the site manager for the reservoir. I do not recognize your authority to limit my time to speak. I'm going to focus on 3 very specific required sections of the application where the record is clearly incomplete or totally incorrect. Number 1, wildlife utilization is an EIS requirement about birds within a 1-mile radius. This application is required to identify bird species utilizing the site and surrounding 1-mile area for year-round breeding, wintering, and migratory purposes. The applicant's response states, no known birds utilize the site or the immediate area. That statement is factually incorrect. Within 1 mile of this site is reservoir number 3 and Persian Field, where over 119 bird species have been well documented publicly through the app eBird, with long-term records showing more than 130 taxa using the area across all seasons. These include migratory waterfowl like the canvasback and the American widgeon, wading birds like the great blue heron and the egret. Raptors include bald eagles and osprey. Shorebirds and warblers using this area as part of the Atlantic Flyway. Importantly, the rusty blackbird A declining wetland indicator species has been observed at reservoir number 3. That alone demonstrates functional wetland habitat within 1 mile of this site. In addition, the nearby Hackensack Meadowland system, under active monitoring by the NJSEA, is a recognized stronghold for species such as the Atlantic coast leopard frog. The failure to identify any bird utilization is not just an omission, it is a failure to meet a basic requirement and responsibility of the EJIS. Number 2, recreational use. There is an EIS requirement. The application is required to describe recreational activities, including bird watching, nature observation, and use of parks and open space. The applicant stated there are no known recreational activities in the immediate area. This is also incorrect. Within 1 mile, Reservoir 3 is actively used for bird watching, nature observation, environmental education, and public programming. eBird participation alone confirms ongoing birding activity. Local schools and community groups regularly use the site for field trips and ecological study. Beyond existing use, this location sits at the center of multiple active and planned greenway systems, including the Essex-Hudson Greenway currently underway, the Hackensack River Greenway, the Bergen Arches Greenway, and proposed connections to Skyway Park, the Bergen Arches, and Lincoln Park. These are not theoretical. They represent significant public investment in recreation and in access. The application fails to acknowledge both existing and planned recreation use, which is required for their complete analysis. Number 3, aesthetics and open space, another EIS requirement. The application is required to describe surrounding open space and scenic areas. The applicant states none in the area. This is incorrect. Within 1 mile, reservoir number 3 is designated urban wetland and public open space, which also includes Pershing Field. Canco Park is one of the only accessible green spaces serving the entire Journal Square and its residents. The Hackensack River Corridor, which provides both ecological and scenic value, and Leonard Gordon Park. And again, this site sits at the nexus of multiple greenway corridors that are being actively planned and built. The EJIS does not evaluate how placing a 750-ton per day waste facility at this location will impact usability of these spaces, create conflicts between truck traffic and pedestrian and bicycle access, and undermining long-term public investment in open space infrastructure. Number 4, flooding, stormwater, and combined sewer overflow. This site is located in a known flood-prone corridor connected to the Sip Avenue combined sewer outflow, otherwise known as the CSO, which already experiences overflow during major storm events. The proposed facility introduces increased impervious surface, heavy truck traffic, and concentrated waste handling. All of these contribute to stormwater runoff and non-point source pollution, including oils, debris, and particulate matter from roadways and operational areas. During storm events, these pollutants do not remain on site. They're mobilized through the combined sewer system or by floodwaters into surrounding neighborhoods and into the Hackensack River. Despite this, the EJIS concludes there is no impact to flooding or CSO conditions and provides no hydrologic modeling, stormwater capacity analysis, or pollutant loading assessment to support that claim. In closing, these are not minor oversights. The application fails to identify well-documented, publicly available wildlife information, fails to acknowledge active recreational use, fails to recognize existing and planned open space systems, and fails to assess known flooding and stormwater risks. If the baseline conditions are incorrect, the entire impact analysis is compromised. At a minimum, the EJIS should be considered incomplete and require revision. Based on the record as it stands, it does not meet the requirements of the environmental justice rules. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to know for everyone here that we are still being able to take written comments. They're, that you want to do. So you can utilize the email address, send in written comments as well as speaking here tonight. So we'll make sure everybody gets to be heard. That's all.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sumit Gulhotra. I'm a resident of the area near where this facility will be built. And I want to say I'm livid. I'm absolutely livid that I have to come here with my 2.5-year-old daughter, not to deal with a proposal, a community proposal about a park or a playground, but instead about a solid waste facility that will deteriorate her health. I am livid for the hundreds of children in my neighborhood whose health will be compromised by this facility. I am livid for the working families who did not know about this meeting tonight, and the few who did, the burden that was placed on us to come here. Some of us don't own cars. Some of us, this is not the most public transit easy area to get to. This was by design. I am livid. This is completely unacceptable. I am completely opposed to this. There was no, as another previous speaker said, no language justice effort to think about what community lives here. Were flyers distributed in Hindi or Gujarati? No, because you know you can get away with things like this. Completely unacceptable. You know you could do a plant like this in a working class neighborhood, in a predominantly people of color neighborhood. Would you do this in Hoboken or downtown Jersey City or anywhere near there? No, because you would not be able to get away with that. But you know you can take advantage and design things in nefarious ways like this. Absolutely unacceptable. I also just want to say I really appreciate the public officials of Jersey City, the county, the state who did show up today. Your presence matters so much, and we really appreciate all of you. Councilman Zupa, others who came, we so appreciate your voice. This fight is not over. We're going to need you for the long haul because they're not doing this in good faith, is my read on this so far. So we're going to need your commitment. Spread the word to your neighbors. Get the word out. We do not need more truck traffic. We do not need more pollution, not risks of cancer or lead poisoning. This is unacceptable.
Good evening. I'm Iraida Apontelitsky, Commissioner for District 4, Oxon County. And I don't want to, I haven't, like everybody did their homework, somebody, make sure that I have my homework. I don't want to go through it again because everybody said the same thing. I just want to say, it is very disrespectful for you or the company to make this meeting so far away from where we live at the corner or the site that you want to build, whatever you want to build. There are a lot of senior citizens that they would like to be here. They talk to us, but how are they going to come over here by themselves? They don't have car. Transportation is very difficult for them. Even a regular person. You come from work, you put this meeting at the end of Jersey City when this meeting is supposed to be at St. Paul's Avenue, right by the site that you want to build that plant.
You're going right there. That's the way it is.
So that is all I want to say. Yes, we are going to be here to the end. We're not just here today. Every person counts, and it can be. You cannot even, entertain that idea to build such a, humongous and very detrimental for all our health, especially people that live at the corner of the place that you want to build whatever you want to build, because I don't even, call it any name. Please, just don't understand that idea. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Al Cupo. I am a Marion resident, also a business owner on SIP Ave. What you see before you is nothing more than smokescreen and mirrors. They're trying to force this, on us. They should have had this meeting in Mount Carmel on Broadway in Marion. And I'd like to remind everybody who are Marion residents here tonight. Okay. I just want to remind everybody that years ago, we had underground fires on Route 440 on the back highway that burned for years. Years. It took a Texas company, Boots and Coots, to come in to put it out. I remember all too well, in the summertime, we were burdened with smog, pollution, smoke. I can't tell you how many people got sick when the Duncan Projects was up. Marion residents, they were all sick. So this is nothing more than a ploy to make this go through. But like they said, we're going to be here. We're going to fight this thing to the bitter end. And that's all I have to say, and thank you.
I just want to reiterate, I was there too with the smoke with the PJPs, and I think Commissioner O'Day was one of our leaders that helped us with that concern, shoot the liquid nitrogen into the ground. I'm Mike Manzo. I'm only a Jersey City resident, lifelong. Mr. Giordano, thanks for that meeting. I didn't know that that passed. My condolences. I saw it on the side of the truck. I asked the driver, and he validated that. That is a guy. Hopefully, we don't need that second meeting because he wouldn't want to hurt any people. Getting back to that, I don't know if this presentation could have gone forward if it would be done under oath as everything being truthful. Because I heard stuff over here, man. My boots aren't big enough to deal with it. They're a bunch of crap. But anyway, the PJPs, the lasting effect health-wise and everything else, we have land down there that isn't even able to be used. If you scrape the dirt while you're down there, you're going to turn green with all the shit that's in it. Okay? As far as this being a garbage transfer station, I have 3 of them within 2,000 feet of my home. This is going to be the 4th. Interstate Waste, Veolia, and another one at the foot of Broadway. What do we have, something special here for that? There's a lot of people that are going to be affected. You ever drive down a road in the nails and a garbage truck spewing all that shit on a road and you step on it, bringing it in your house? How would you feel? This is an unwanted thing. I don't feel it's anything that's good that's going to be for the community. It's overemphasized and everything is distorted. I hope it doesn't come to fruition.
Not speaking again, but if somebody has a black Ford Ranger and blocking cars that are parked in the back of the building,
Black.
Hi, everyone. My name is Musab Ali, resident of Jersey City. So, first of all, I just want to reiterate the point that obviously this is not where the meeting should take place. But I want to be a little bit more crude here. I mean, many people have said the important things. This is not a demonstration of a compelling public interest. It's pretty clear that communities that look like mine have been overburdened by environmental impacts. But I also just want to talk about something else. You know, my family immigrated to Jersey City because of Indian Square. My mom, her first story about Indian Square is she remembered walking down the street and smelling the spices, and it made her feel like she was at home. And I think that's what makes Jersey City so special, right? Our diversity, the fact that when you're in different neighborhoods, you feel like you're in different parts of the world. And I want you to think about the kind of waste that they have talked about that they're going to be processing at this facility. They have talked about animal waste as one of the things that they're going to be processing. Do you know what it smells like to have rotting animal waste in your neighborhood? Just imagine on a hot summer day, the kind of smells that are going to be coming out of this waste facility. Why is it communities that look like ours have to tolerate that? Why is that okay? This is a very clear fight. It's a fight between people who want to make a profit and the health of our communities. And I, for one, believe we should put people over profits. It's very simple. So for me, when I think about this application, I think it's very clear. Our community should no longer have to tolerate this. We should not have to put up with these smells. We should not have to put up with the fact that this state already, I mean, our nickname is the armpit state. They don't just say that just because we're located, right? They say that because the smells here in New Jersey. We should no longer have to tolerate this. There's no compelling interest. And I think it's very clear from all the electeds who are here and all the people who have showed up to this meeting, we don't want this in our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Can I interrupt things for 1 minute? We do have another councilman online that wanted to say something. I don't want to take away from the representatives, but these are your representatives. I'd like to, if we can put him online, is that all right? Okay. Objections? Okay. Can you give one? Madeline?
We also have, we have 270 people on.
Okay.
Probably Carl and Brendan.
Want to get Katie Brennan? I'm going to have her go first. We'll take a couple more, then we'll have, I just want to make sure that those folks can represent more people, can be at least first.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, I'm I'm sorry. I just called a ride to try and get me down here because this is incredibly frustrating. When we found out about this meeting a few weeks ago, the first thing I did was call DEP and try and get this meeting canceled and moved to a neighborhood that is accessible for the people who are going to be most impacted, which several of my neighbors have highlighted. This is an area far across Jersey City in a place where half the people do not drive, and it is not accessible by public transportation in the least. I myself am having a hard time getting down there right now. As you've heard from everybody here, you need to be noticing this to the people who are most impacted. I can repeat everything that was said before about how this is in direct violation of the state's landmark environmental justice law, how you've provided no compelling reason why that you should supersede any of that. But believe me when I say that we will be reaching out to the state again to ensure that there is a second meeting that is within the neighborhood that is most impacted by this, that is noticed appropriately. It should not be incumbent on neighborhood leaders and elected officials to spread this around. You are here to ask the neighbors that are most affected. You are here, and it is incumbent on you to reach out to the people who are going to be affected by this to hear what they have to say, and that has not occurred. So we will be advocating for a second meeting, and I will be submitting both written and otherwise testimony to the state in strong opposition of this solid waste facility. So thank you. And if you're shutting this off at 8 o'clock, I do have to say, I really urge you not to end this meeting until everybody who is in the room has had a chance to speak, and that all of the people online, because again, this meeting is not accessible. We pressured for the online meeting format, and it is not until now that you've let anybody speak who is present online. And I hope to see everybody who would like to speak have the opportunity to do so. That's all.
Brendan. We take one more for in person. We're going to try to get another one of the.
My name is Kevin. Online. Is this on? Okay, I can't hear myself. My name is Kevin Link. I live at the corner of Tunnelly Avenue and St. Paul's. So this is going to affect me where I live and many of us that live in that area. But more importantly, it's going to affect the future of Jersey City's recreation. If we go to the corner of Van Keuren, we would probably be about 2 blocks from the Hackensack River. We'd be less than a mile to the future Skyway Park. We would be at the foot of the Essex Hudson Greenway. We'd be about a mile from the park in Secaucus. We'll be about a mile from Laurel Hill Park. This is our future. This is our future recreation. People are going to walk, and they're going to ride bikes, and they're going to run to the Greenway. They're going to run to Skyway Park. And we're adding all this truck traffic that people are going to have to dodge. We already have too many people die every year in Jersey City by vehicle traffic. This is only going to add to this. I ask you, do not do this. I ask our elected officials, thank you for being here, to get together. It's like one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing. People are planning Skyway Park. People are planning the Greenway. People are planning this garbage facility. No one's communicating together. I would love to see people get together and meet at Van Keuren and explore the area, see how amazing the Hackensack River is. Go there at sunset. It will blow your mind. Thank you.
Yeah, we're trying to find names.
Hi, everyone. My name is Grace. I live on 270 St. Paul's Ave. Gopi Patel. Thank you. My husband and I have been residents of Jersey City for almost 5 years now. And a few months ago, we bought our first home on St. Paul's Ave. We decided to bet on Jersey City and, more importantly, Journal Square, because of the community and quality of life I hoped it would provide for my family for many years to come. I thought I would be worrying about plumbing and paint samples, and while I still am, I did not expect to be also fighting for the rights of my community's health and well-being. I'm happy to hear, Mr. Giordano, that you acknowledge this meeting. I'm happy to hear that you acknowledge this meeting was not planned in good faith or conducted so, in my opinion. And we'll be planning an additional meeting for public comment. As originally promised, I would also like for it to be stated on record that this new meeting must allow time for questions to be answered and include translations based on communities' needs, such as Hindi or Gujarati. If you intend to keep your guarantee that trucks will not be passing through St. Paul's Ave, I implore you to also come prepared to the next meeting with updated inbound and outbound routes included on the slides and up here. Additionally, I think it's important for the community to also hear from you directly on how you plan on using GPS systems to ensure this. Please include a slide on the allowed route zones that you want to implement. And it is not a threat when I say that I am ready to sit on St. Paul's Ave and take photos of license plates for trucks, because if this trash dump does move forward, because that's what it is, on the record, I promise I will be there and hold you and everyone who voted for this accountable.
Loud. Elena Little.
See her hand raised.
All right, we'll go with another comment.
Hi, everyone. Is this on?
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Justin Gabriel. I'm a lifelong resident of Jersey City, and I teach environmental science. I would just like to point out that air pollution knows no boundaries, so this affects everyone. Something that I noticed in your presentation is that you said that you're going to be doing waste recovery, but in the list of materials you said you'd be recovering, there was absolutely no mention of plastic. So one of the things that I'm concerned about is, are you going to be contributing more plastics, more microplastic wastes into our water in Jersey City? Another thing is that you mentioned that you will be meeting EPA, or you will attempt to meet EPA standards in regulating NOx and VOCs, two things that are regulated by the Clean Air Act, which is currently being weakened. And meeting the minimum standards for the current EPA at this moment is not exactly a proud accomplishment to be making. So just to echo what everyone has said, this is also, when I saw the meeting location for this 2 days ago, I said, this is nowhere near the site you're proposing. Is there a mistake on the flyer? Just thought. And it just feels a little disingenuous to be hearing about all these ways that you're claiming to be making this more environmentally friendly, when in reality, none of that changes the fact that you are going to be having hundreds of tons of waste moving into Jersey City, into a residential area every single day. The math just doesn't seem to be adding up, and it doesn't seem like that this is in the best interest of anyone at all in this community. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Vastev. I'm a resident of Ward C. I live on St. Paul's. Councilman Tom Zupa, 3 blocks from me. My wife, aide to councilman on St. Paul's, of course. Two things I want to point out. Everybody said everything around. Traffic report you said was 2024.
Yes.
Is that correct? Yeah. After 2024, you know how many houses and buildings have come up in Ward C? Every day, one building pops up, every single day. So if you add that up, while the time you come in, you have 1,500 more houses there. You talking traffic? You counting 130 trucks with red lights you don't know the timings of? Look at the people going. We live on the same building. It takes me 20 minutes to go from my house to Jonah Square, which is 5 blocks, 20 minutes. And you want 130 trucks each way coming in? You guys must be doing something. Trust me. I'm sorry to say this. Secondly, respect your neighbors. All right? We have such a diverse community there. We have been living there. The real estate right now in Ward C is better than downtown. You come in, we all going to go into the neighborhoods we don't even want to dream about. So please stay away from us. Let us live our lives. Let us live our healthy lives. Thank you.
I'm just going to hold for one of the people when he's having moments on time. Yeah, that Matt?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Assemblyman Ravi Bala. I represent the 32nd Legislative District where this is situated. Frankly, to the applicant, you should be ashamed of yourself. Have you heard all these people from the community speak out about this proposed facility that does not belong in this neighborhood? Have you heard the father who came with his young daughter and he wanted parks for the kids, not pollution, not waste? This is a complete slap in the face of the public. You should be ashamed of yourself. It's a disgrace, and you have my commitment, and all of the elected officials are unified in our opposition to this application. This is not going to happen. This facility is not going to happen. We are going to fight tooth and nail to protect the people who live in that neighborhood, the people who you have denied a voice to by having this meeting far away from them in a language that might not be accessible to them. What kind of nerve do you have to do this? It's a complete disgrace. It's unacceptable. It's intolerable. It will not happen. And we all know the environmental justice impacts. This keeps on happening to Black and brown communities. Why do minorities always have to suffer the burden of these facilities being parked in their neighborhood? Enough is enough. This is not going to happen anymore. The community, the people have spoken, and we are unified in our opposition to this application, and we will keep on fighting tooth and nail to make sure this is not located in this neighborhood. You've got my word for that. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Diana Crowder, and I live on Lexington Avenue near Lincoln Park. And I'm just so happy to see all my Jersey City neighbors here. Thank you for coming out. I have a question. I'm curious how Keuren got an avenue named after it in Jersey City. I'm curious in case I would like a street named after me in the future. I've lived here 40 years. I'm curious, how does one get a street named after them? Oh yes, sorry. So as we're finding out from our speakers, this is not rocket science, right? Not only do we not want more trucks and pollution, we want a reduction. I want somebody to come here and tell us how we're going to reduce the number of trucks and the pollution, not increase. It's on its head. I'm not going to reiterate what others have said, but I do want to just caution. if anybody thinks that DEP might be our friend, to be cautious with that. Somebody, I think, Musab talked about the smells, right, of animals. We already get this stench of a meat rendering plant that comes from Newark over into our neighborhoods already. And they have a permit from DEP to pollute. They pay amount of money for the permit, and DEP allows them to pollute. So once, if this thing gets built, if they're given a permit to build this, it's going to be so much more difficult to stop it. We have to prevent it from being built now. The other thing with DEP, anybody know about Liberty State Park, what they're allowing to happen? Building this boat thing in Liberty State Park. Be careful. They're not our friends necessarily, unless we make them do what they need to do. So I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.
Did just want to iterate that there is a translator for Arabic as well as Spanish here tonight. So if there's questions after the meeting, do you have something else, please? So now these are the two that are here tonight. We also well, we're following specific regulatory guidelines for things. So we'll address each of these things more specifically, and we'll talk, internally to make sure everything's appropriately looked at. When, I don't think anything's not being heard. Thank you. I want to go ahead, you go, and then I'm going to go to online. Okay.
Hi, my name is Jacob Latender. This is my 4-year-old daughter, Nina Latender, 71 St. Paul's Ave. So we would be directly impacted by this proposal. And we've lived there now I've lived there with my wife for 7 years. And, we've really been advocating along with a lot of our neighbors for things like was brought up before, things like making the neighborhood more walkable, right? Things like more parks, things like getting trucks off the road. And this is in direct contrast to that. And I can't even say how irate I am that I even have to be here. We were supposed to be somewhere else tonight. And instead I'm having my 4-year-old daughter come here so that we can speak out against something that really we shouldn't even be discussing right now. It's an abomination. And it's something that just really, really, I think upsets us. It upsets the community. And I think, there's unanimous support that this should not be moving forward. And so really, I'm not going to reiterate everything else that everybody said, but I just wanted to make sure we get it on the record that everybody in the community is.
We're going to take one other person online. We're trying to get one person online.
Hello.
For a minute. Hello. I'm going to just tell everybody we're going to extend the meeting for another half an hour. We'll see how many we get through. But we'll try to make sure everybody's got their opportunity to speak.
Great. So this is my opportunity to speak. Just confirming that that's what's happening. My name is Rachel Dawn Davis. I'm speaking on behalf of Water Spirit. Water Spirit is a spiritual ecology nonprofit centered on water as a source and sustainer of all life. The organization is sponsored by the Sisters of St. Joseph of Peace. My comments are on behalf of our thousands of members, and we are lifting up our sister ministries located in Jersey City, Peace Care, New Jersey, York Street Project, and St. John's School for the Blind. NJDEP deny this permit. The environmental justice law exists, and while this law is no substitute for a constitutional amendment, like a New Jersey Green Amendment that would enshrine the rights to clean air, pure water, a stable climate, and healthy environment for current and future generations, this law does require that at this stage, we all understand what is in the compelling public interest and what is not. This does not a compelling interest case make. Investigating further with those most affected, who have been doing alternative pathway research, we learned that the surrounding counties have capacity, as many have said before, Yet this route has still not been explored as an alternative to creating another polluting facility. It has us deeply worried about the populations that our sister ministries serve, as well as all of the children and all of the elders who are already experiencing, everyone in middle of life, who are experiencing cumulative impacts of environmental racism. These populations are reliant upon the safety and health of the water, land, and air in and around Jersey City. And as somebody said very aptly, air knows no bounds. Any risk that would compromise children, families, and elders alike is not worthwhile, as you have heard and hopefully seen into the eyes of the residents that you're proposing to, that are being proposed to go through this right now. The entire community at every stage of life is affected by the cumulative impacts of pollution. We know this for over a decade of research with the Environmental Health News Network, certainly out of ground zero of hydraulic fracturing or fracking in Pennsylvania. Deny this permit. There's no way to justify approving this permit. Perhaps facts about viable alternatives will be actively ignored, yet we still hold out hope for representatives at all levels of government, NJDP, including Jersey City, all the way up to Governor Sherrill, to be the kinds of representatives that examine the facts, the truth. Representatives who are willing to tangibly listen and grow to understand the voices on the ground are the closest to the problems as well as the solutions. I ask you to call upon your moral clarity and recall the words of Pope Francis from the encyclical Laudato Si, quote, "We are conscious of the disproportionate and unruly growth of many cities which have become unhealthy to live in, not only because of pollution caused by toxic emissions, but also as a result of urban chaos, poor transportation, and visual pollution and noise. Many cities are huge, inefficient structures, excessively wasteful of energy and water. Neighborhoods, even those recently built, are congested, chaotic, and lacking insufficient green space. We were not meant to be inundated by cement, asphalt, glass, and metal, and deprived of physical contact with nature." End quote. I yield any time. Thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Sonia. My name is Sonia Magda Dublin, and I am the Director of Solid Waste and Recycling for Jersey City. Let alone, we don't need it, we don't want it, and it's not going to happen. Jersey City has continued to be treated like a dumping ground, and it needs to stop. It needs to stop today. It needs to stop further into the future. We're not going to put up with it. Let alone that I'm going to echo the words of everyone that has been here, our residents. I live here on Ward A, and I came to speak not because I'm the Director of Solid Waste and Recycling, because this affects our families, our children. You're looking at a mom who gave birth to a child that was born 1 pound 3 ounces and had an enormous amount of issues with his air quality, with his respiratory issues, which really infuriates me that you want to add more vehicles on a road that's highly used, on a road that we have faced. How many deaths? Are we going to add more deaths to that road? You know how many people have died because of what's already there? And you want to add, 200 and something more trucks on a daily basis? Not going to happen in Jersey City. We're not going to stand with it. I'll be right there with you, taking pictures, protesting, and doing what we have to do to make sure that this does not happen in our city. We don't want it. We don't need it.
Can you hear me okay? Hi, my name is Judy Flynn. I'm a resident of Skillman Avenue off of St. Paul's. I'm here with several of my neighbors here. I don't think that there's much more that I can say that would be more articulate and passionate and heartfelt than everything that everybody else has said, but I just want to say this. My family basically got off a boat from Ireland back in the 1800s. 6 generations of my family have lived here in Jersey City. I myself have lived here for the last 18 years. I have raised my daughter here. When we decided to buy a house, we decided to buy up here in the Journal Square area. I have seen so much development in Jersey City back from when I was a kid in the 70s, coming here to visit my grandmother, all the way up to now. And this is just such a slap in the face to the community, and it's a slap in the face to all of the development and the progress that has been made here in Jersey City. And I am just outraged that this is happening. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks for the time.
Fair enough. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Maggie Broughton. I'm an attorney with the Eastern Environmental Law Center, and I'm here representing Sustainable Jersey City and in collaboration with the New Jersey Environmental Justice Alliance and Earth Justice. Sustainable Jersey City urges the DEP to deny Van Keuren's application for this solid waste facility, and we will be submitting more detailed written comments on this facility as well. I wanted to start by noting that the legislature, in adopting the environmental justice law, recognized that New Jersey's low income and communities of color have been disproportionately and historically subject to high levels of environmental and public health stressors from industrial pollution. To act consistently with this legislative purpose and the plain letter of the law, the DEP is required to deny this permit application because it will cause unavoidable negative impacts to air quality and significant increases to heavy-duty truck traffic in an overburdened community. This facility also does not provide a compelling public interest under the law. I wanted to emphasize that Van Keuren's proposed operations include 260 truck trips per day, 6 days a week between the hours of 4 a.m. and 10 p.m. in the overburdened community. It will increase harmful air emissions of VOCs, NOx, and particulate matter. And this is in addition to 85 permitted air sites already within a 1 mile radius of this site. There's no de minimis standard under the EJ law. Van Keuren was required to show that it could totally avoid contributions to these already adverse stressors, which it cannot and did not do in its environmental justice impact statement, or that it serves a compelling public interest to the community, which it does not. It doesn't fulfill a compelling public interest because it would have to demonstrate that it serves an essential environmental health or safety need to the individual residents of the overburdened community. DEP also intended this exception to its denial requirement to be very narrow. The proposed benefits that Van Keuren cites in its environmental justice impact statement are regional and countywide in nature, not particularized to the overburdened community. And its benefits are also based on a speculative need for solid waste disposal based on affordable housing that has not been built in this community. Further, the language of the law prohibits economic benefits from being considered in this analysis. So we cannot consider those 14 jobs that this facility will supposedly supply to the community. In conclusion, as stated in New Jersey's environmental justice law, it is past time for the state to correct this historical injustice of overburdened communities shouldering a disproportionate pollution burden for the benefit of the state. To make good on this promise, DEP is required here to protect Jersey City's residents, of which I am one. I'm very proud to be here tonight, by denying this permit application. This facility is precisely the type of facility that the EJ law was intended to prevent from being built in overburdened communities. Thank you so much.
Good evening, y'all. Thank you so much for staying past 8 p.m. My name is Brooke Helmick, and I serve as the Director of Policy with the New Jersey Environmental Justice Alliance. I am here with Maggie in partnership with Sustainable Jersey City, with the Eastern Environmental Law Center, with Earth Justice, and with all of you. Our work I do with NJEJA is meaningful because the partners we have and the community representatives who turn out and say no to polluting facilities when polluting facilities try to come and take up space in y'all's neighborhood. I'm going to start just with 3 simple points because trust I will be sending in written comments and they will be in depth. The first point I have, much akin to Maggie's point, is that the law is very, very clear on what compelling public interest is. It must be primary, it must serve a primary essential need, it must be necessary to serve the overburdened community, and there must be no reasonable alternatives. Well, I think 2 transfer stations in 1 mile of the Van Keuren site and 7 solid waste facilities in the NJSEA district sounds like a pretty good, reasonable alternative to me. Therefore, by that singular point alone, Van Keuren must be denied. But even if we put that aside, and I still say we should not put that aside because it is quite literally the letter of the law, there are 2 other things to note, and I want to correct the record for just a moment. In the facility's presentation, they said they would have 80 trucks going through the area. The environmental justice impact statement actually says 130 trucks. When you tabulate, that's 260 round trip trucks. The presentation also said 15 out of 19 stressors. I want to point out there's actually 19 out of 26 stressors, one of which is ground level ozone and one of which is medium and heavy duty trucks. medium and heavy duty trucks contribute to diesel emissions, which leads to particulate matter, which leads to volatile organic compounds, nitrogen oxide, which leads to health impacts for you and for the small babies that were here today. Those are the kids that are going to be breathing these things in. And the third thing I want to point out is that we heard over and over and over again how relatively small is not zero. Under thresholds does not mean safe. The only way to guarantee zero emissions is to not construct. That is what we should be taking. And I want to close just for a moment to thank the many, many residents, y'all that are here on the Zoom. And as of when I checked during the presentation, 200 Jersey City residents who submitted a fast action form saying that they do not want this built. Your voice, I'm going to be real, is so much more important than mine. Y'all are the folks that have to live here. All right. Everybody deserves to live, work, play, and pray. So I am telling Van Keuren facility, do the right thing, withdraw this permit application. And if you choose not to do the right thing, the moral thing, the legal thing, then I am telling DEP, you must deny this permit. Thank you.
We're taking one online right now. Oh, okay, Matt.
Hello. My name is Desdemona Haynes. I live at 225 St. Paul's Avenue. I am strongly urging NJDEP to deny Van Keuren's permit as our St. Paul's community is already overburdened with too much trash, traffic, noise, and poor air quality. This waste facility will only increase our exposure to cancer-causing toxins and odors that will be detrimental to everyone in this densely populated neighborhood, as well as the surrounding communities. Again, I am urging that NJDEP denies this permit. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
We'll take another one from.
First of all, I wanted to thank everyone for being so well researched when they came out here tonight. I just wanted to say, well, my name's Neil Soto. Thank you about that. I'm sorry about that. Neil Soto. I just wanted to say how absurd it is to say that you're pushing something through in the name of compelling public interest when you can't get a single person to speak out in favor of your compelling public interest. I would also like to draw attention to the address over there and say that that's a Pennsylvania address, not New Jersey. The only compelling interest that's being filled here is their wallets, and you're the people that have to breathe the air. This is ridiculous. This should be shut down, and they've lied multiple times in their application to try to push this through. This is absurd, and it should not be allowed. Thank you.
We're going to take one more online. Matt.
Okay. Hello. Can everybody hear me good?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is X Braithwaite, and I'm the lead environmental justice organizer for the Ironbound Community Corporation. Really nice to see you all today online and also in person. And I really commend the organizing that it took to bring so many folks out here. I've been working on the EJ law for quite some time now, and this is one of the biggest public hearings I've seen. And I won't go through my whole public comment. I see a lot of you have already addressed the concerns of feeling disrespected by the facility, feeling disrespected that this is even being proposed in your neighborhood. But I'm standing here today to represent overburdened communities like the Ironbound and in solidarity with the residents of Ward D and C in Jersey City to urge the DEP to deny this permit. This isn't just about this facility. It's about the people, the families who are already living and breathing the daily impacts of pollution and are now being asked to carry even more. This proposed Van Keuren facility would be located in a community that the DEP has already said has been overburdened by public health stressors like asthma, cancer rates, etc. And that means the decision to deny or approve this is not a neutral one, right? It's about whether we continue to deepen the harms in the communities that have already already been overexposed for decades. Like somebody had said very, very long ago, there are 14 hospitals, 19 parks, 12 schools, and 9 childcare facilities here. These aren't just statistics. These are children playing outside, elders trying to age safely, families seeking care and healing, and all of them would be indirectly and directly exposed to increased pollution from the facility. The proposal brings about 130 truck trips per day, 260 truck trips in total into this neighborhood. That means more diesel exhaust, more particulate matter, more congestion, and more pressure on an already overburdened community. We know what diesel does. We know it's linked to heart disease, to cancer risk, etc. And in communities like ours, we're already living that reality. The question we have to evaluate in the context of this permit as neighbors and allies is, at what cost are we building this facility? For a facility that will process hundreds of tons of waste every single day, while also having other multiple facilities in the area and consistent industrial operations, this is not filling a gap. This is adding to an already oversaturated burden. The last thing I'll say is that this is what environmental injustice looks like in real time, right? Placing another polluting facility in a community that has already been asked to sacrifice its health. The community is already dealing with truck traffic, contaminated sites, flooding, lack of green space. They're already carrying more than their fair share. And adding another facility is not progress. It's just a continuation of environmental injustice. Public health is a civil right, clean air is a civil right, and no community should be treated as expendable, which is why ICC, again, strongly urges the permit to be denied. Thank you.
Hey everyone, before we start, I just want to flag one thing. We sent an email with NJEJA to the consultants conducting this hearing, telling them that it needed to be held in the community and telling them that it should be translated into multiple South Asian languages. There was no response received. This is not a surprise. They were aware that this accessibility issue existed. I'm ready to begin. My name is Colin Parts. I'm an attorney with Earth Justice, but I'm also here in a personal capacity on behalf of my partner's family who live in Jersey City. They live in Journal Square on Van Ripen. I want to highlight 2 points. The first is that Van Keuren's application does not meet the compelling public interest exception. And the second is that Van Keuren seems to be hiding a major part of its operations by not mentioning its plans to build a biofuels facility at this site. Van Keuren won't meet an essential need, specifically in the overburdened community, because they talk about the need that they'll meet in the much larger NJSEA waste district. Even if the benefits that they talk about to this waste district were real, they're irrelevant. The EJ rule requires that a compelling public interest go to the specific overburdened community, not an entire waste district, because the EJ law was passed to prevent communities from being treated as sacrifice zones like they're trying to do here. Second, Van Keuren's application doesn't prove that the facility would serve an essential need. It talks about economic benefits, but the EJ rule explicitly says economic benefits cannot be considered. The primary sponsor of the EJ law said that this would create a giant loophole. That's a quote. But they're talking to you about the jobs that this will provide as a compelling public interest. Additionally, Van Keuren shows or attempts to argue that it's necessary to handle additional waste. There is already a waste transfer station less than a mile from the facility that can handle twice as much as the Van Keuren station. And in their environmental justice impact statement, they note that there are already 700,000 tons, I'll say that again, 700,000 tons of excess waste processing capacity. We don't need the capacity that this facility would provide. And finally, regarding Van Keuren's biofuels facility. In 2016, a biofuels company called Clean Tech bought 99% of Van Keuren LLC, the company that applied for this permit. In that contract and in Clean Tech's SEC filings, the company's primary goal is listed as developing a biofuels manufacturing facility on site, with operating the transfer station as a secondary goal. Nothing in Van Keuren's aegis and nothing in that hour-long presentation mentions this biofuels facility. If Van Keuren wants to build a biofuels facility and sacrifice this community, it must put that in the materials that is provided to you, and DEP must deny this application.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nikki Sheets, and I'm trained as a scientist and a lawyer, and I work at Princeton University where I teach environmental justice policy. But more,
Can you speak a little closer to the mic? Sorry. Stenographer's trying to get your recording. Can you speak a little closer to the mic? Sorry.
So I teach environmental justice policy at Princeton University. But more importantly, I'm a member of the New Jersey Environmental Justice Alliance. I'm chair of the board and one of the co-founders. And through the Alliance, we work with communities in New Jersey and all around the country. And one thing I want to add tonight is that this facility, if approved, would not only be bad for Jersey City. I live in Trenton. I live in the overburdened community in Trenton, African-American community in Trenton. It would be bad for overburdened communities all over the state. Why? Because in order for the permit to be approved, and you've heard this multiple times, they have to get a compelling public interest exception. And basically what they're saying is, we know we pollute, we know we can't avoid it, but we want an exception anyway. Now, we've already heard a lot of people say, you know, they shouldn't get this exception. And I'm just going to agree with that. You've heard the reasons. But I want to add that it goes beyond they just shouldn't get this exception, because this could set a precedent. If they get the compelling public interest exception, no community in New Jersey will be safe, right? They can pollute all over New Jersey and ask for the exception. And we're definitely afraid, because we were involved in formulating the law and the policy, and this was one of our worst nightmares, right? Right from the beginning, we knew this public interest exception could undermine the entire law. And this was really what we were afraid of, a facility coming in that was polluting and claiming the exception. So to DEP, I know they're not here. I don't know why they're not here. They need to be here listening to this. But the DEP, they needed to deny this exception, not only for Jersey City, but they needed to deny it for all communities around the state. And really, in order to save the New Jersey EJ law, which is groundbreaking, right? We get calls from all around the country because it's a groundbreaking law. We need to save this law by denying this exception and denying this permit. You know what comes to my mind? I think I'm one of the older people in the room. Who remembers Barney Fife? Yeah? Do you remember what Barney Fife used to say? When something bad happened, he said, we have to nip it in the bud. And that's exactly what we have to do now. DEP needs to nip this in the bud in order to protect communities all over the state. Thank you.
You got one other person online? Matt?
Hello, this is Rohan Zia from NJDEP. I will be the permit evaluator, rather I am the permit evaluator for this application. I just heard the comment that NJDEP is not here. I just wanted to assure you guys that your comments are noted, and we will be also reviewing all the comments that we receive over the internet. So you're heard, and I'll definitely speak with the higher ups regarding this, and I'll be briefing them on today's meeting. So I just wanted to assure everyone that you're heard, and your safety is very important to NJDEP.
Thank you.
My name is Amy Goldsmith. I'm the New Jersey State Director for Clean Water Action. We're a national organization, but have been doing environmental justice work with our partners at the EJ Alliance, Ironbound Community Corporation, Sustainable Jersey, and others since 1982. We have an office in Elizabeth, and we were one of the organizations that worked with the Alliance and with ICC to get the law passed in the first place. And so we know what the law says, as has been stated by some others who have spoken here earlier. The intent of the law is to reduce and eliminate harm to people in overburdened communities. It is actually to ratchet down the pollution, not to add pollution, but to take away pollution, to give permit, when permits come up for renewal is to get them to reduce the pollution and to deny new permits for new sources of pollution, which this facility is definitely in that category. This facility should be denied easily because there is no compelling public interest of any kind. The compelling public interest has to be an improvement in the census block in the neighborhood. There's no sewage going into everybody's basements. There's nothing like that happening, right? This is all to create opportunity and profit for the company that wants to come to this location. And as we just heard, maybe have some other hidden agenda, which is biofuel facilities, which we don't want them either. So a facility of this kind has downwind impacts. It's not just what happens at the facility, it's what happens on the roads, with the trucks, with the air pollution. And if you've ever been next to an animal rendering facility or a waste facility, they really, really stink. Okay? And so you got waste, you got garbage, you got diesel fuel. So, and we're talking about operating a facility 6 days a week from 4 in the morning to 6 at night and processing until 10 o'clock at night. So we're almost talking about a 24-hour, 6-day-a-week facility. Let's be clear about that. So there is no compelling public interest because there's lots of trash facilities all over the place. We don't like them either, but we don't want another one. We don't want one in this neighborhood for sure. And the law is clear that it has to be a very narrow interest. So it is imperative, one, that the DEP deny this permit. It is actually imperative that you stop wasting your money and keep advocating for this permit, because as you've heard, local officials and all of you who live here, whether you're in this ward or the next ward or right around the corner, you're going to fight like heck to prevent it from being built. And I'm with you.
Take one other person online.
Hi, my name is Michelle Mercado, and I am a resident on Lewis Avenue, which is pretty close to where your facility is being proposed. We don't want the facility here. When this was applied for 15 years ago, we still had coal going. We don't have that anymore. My father passed away several years ago, and he had several COPD, asthma, probably from us living here for 50 years and inhaling all of the PSE&G, the train, the Skyway. We don't want to increase any more possible pollution. We don't want to keep risking our health. I have a rare disease that they don't know where it came from, and it very possibly could be environmental. We don't want any more of this. So I'm not, and it's going along. I know there's a lot of people left to go, but please understand that, this is not something that is good for where we are, for our future, for our city. So please take it back to Pennsylvania, where you're from, and let them deal with it. Thank you. Okay.
Hello, I'm Zachary Forrest. I'm a resident of Jersey City. Firstly, I do want to take a moment to recognize how ridiculous it is to propose building a transfer station in a already overburdened community. So maybe put it somewhere where there isn't a whole lot of people living and isn't already overburdened. Yeah, maybe in Pennsylvania. We've already talked a lot about some important topics, so I'm going to keep it pretty quick to what I think is a kind of a real life way of thinking about how many trucks this is every day. 260 truck trips every day from 4 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's on average one truck going by every 3 minutes and 13 seconds. On top of
everything already driving by every day. I think we could all recognize how crazy that sounds. That's all. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? My name is Anna Yolzman, and I'm a research analyst at the Tishman Environment and Design Center at the New School, where I study cumulative impacts policies across the United States. And while I'm not from this impacted community, I want you to know that we are watching you. And so are all the other EJ communities facing similar cumulative impacts permitting fights across the country. New Jersey's EJ law addresses a clear problem. Polluting facilities have been disproportionately cited in communities of color and low-income neighborhoods. The EJ law was designed to solve this deeply important and systemic issue by denying new permits in overburdened communities. Therefore, DEP should set a high standard for what can be considered an exception. Under the EJ law, the permit can be approved only if the applicant demonstrates that the facility primarily serves an essential environmental, health, or safety need of the overburdened community, that it is necessary to meet that need, and that there are no reasonable alternatives. This applicant does not meet that standard. First, the facility does not primarily serve the needs of the overburdened community where it will be located. The applicant has been clear that it intends to accept waste from multiple counties, Essex, Hudson, and Bergen. That is a regional service, not a facility designed to meet the essential needs of the specific community hosting it. Second, the applicant has not shown that the facility is necessary. Existing facilities in surrounding counties already have capacity to manage this waste. Building a new facility at this location is not the only option, and the rule is clear. If reasonable alternatives exist, the permit must be denied. This proposal would impose real additional burdens on this overburdened community. The facility is expected to handle hundreds of tons of waste per day with approximately 130 truck trips daily from early morning to late evening. That means increased diesel emissions, traffic, and noise. Studies show vehicle emissions are linked to asthma and heart disease. Noise exposure is increasingly connected to mental health difficulties, sleep disruption, hearing loss, and cardiovascular disease. These are not abstract concerns. They translate into real health consequences for the impacted community. Finally, this community includes schools, child care centers, healthcare facilities, and recreational spaces, places where people live, learn, and receive care. Adding more truck traffic and pollution will only worsen existing conditions. If this proposal is not withdrawn, this will be a precedent-setting decision for DEP that will demonstrate whether the agency intends to fully implement the EJ law it is responsible for enforcing. The purpose of this law is to stop pollution in communities that have been paying a disproportionate share. Approving this permit would undermine that purpose. For these reasons, I urge that the permit be denied. Thank you for your time.
No, just 1 minute. I think one person online. That.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to comment today. My name is Yuk-Yen Lam. I am a public health scientist and a lawyer, and I'm the Director of Research at the Tishman Center at the New School. Our center turned 20 years old this year and has had a long history of supporting frontline EJ communities, including in New Jersey, the Northeast, and beyond. Tonight, I want to speak directly to NJDEP and urge them to realize the purpose of the state's landmark environmental justice law by denying this permit for a new facility that would worsen already bad levels of pollution in an overburdened community. In order for NJDEP to even consider approving the permit, the applicant has to have shown this facility would primarily serve the essential environmental health or safety need of the individuals in the community in question. Now, what I wanted to really uplift here is some of DEP's own claims when it was defending the law before the appellate court in New Jersey. There was a landmark decision upholding the law in January of this year. In case folks didn't fully know, I think a lot of you already know this. And some of the language that DEP offered when they were arguing for why this was a great law and a great rule is very, very relevant here tonight. So one of the things it says is that first, there's a general principle that exceptions to environmental and public health statutes are to be construed narrowly. Second, an important part of this intentionally narrow tailoring is that a facility must primarily serve an essential environmental health or safety need of the individuals of an OBC to avoid the continued siting of facilities in overburdened communities that provide broad societal benefits on the pretext that those facilities also provide general benefits to members of the host community, which would only threaten to further historic siting inequities. So in that case that was argued before the appellate court, industry challenged DEP's exclusion of economic benefits as counting as this public interest. And DEP rightly defended that decision. It argued that economic benefits, they shouldn't be interpreted as compelling public interest because it would be really hard for DEP to effectively quantify them, to appropriately put conditions on them, or even meaningfully enforce them. And so therefore, this shows that a major consideration as to whether benefits should count is whether DEP can actually quantify or condition or meaningfully enforce them. Here, Van Keuren points to a few reasons as to why they meet this compelling public interest, none of which are valid, right? They've said that they're going to offer municipalities some market choice in various waste and recycling options. They're going to help the state meet recycling goals. It says it's going to offer these 14 jobs spread across, I guess, various cities as well as potentially nearby counties. And it points to servicing waste from hypothetical housing to be constructed in 14 municipalities, housing that hasn't been built yet. So none of these speak to a compelling public interest. Put simply, these hypothetical needs, jobs, and market choice across a geographically vague area fail to constitute the kind of exception that the EJ law allows. The kinds of benefits that the applicant has pointed to here are far from being the kinds of tangible benefits that DEP can effectively quantify or condition or meaningfully enforce. For this reason, in accordance with the law, NJDEP should deny the permit and protect against the very kind of environmental injustice that the landmark EJ law was intended to prevent. Taking a step back, I wanted to really emphasize how much this decision, which we believe is actually a straightforward one for NJDEP, is itself going to be a landmark decision. It's either going to uphold the promise of the country's first law to require that permits be denied on the basis of cumulative impacts, or it will show that even a very narrowly tailored exception can be exploited as a loophole to allow injustice to continue. We hope that the agency makes the right decision. Thank you.
Hi, I was online earlier and it was unclear if I was being recorded or if it was heard. And so I got a ride and schlepped across town. And at the risk of abusing my elected position, I have more to add. And so I'm here. I am Assemblywoman Katie Brennan. That was next. I'm Assemblywoman Katie Brennan. And I am effectively one of your liaisons to the state of New Jersey. The second that I heard about this meeting, we reached out to the DEP and they were very receptive and to try and work with Van Keuren. The DEP gave them an opportunity in good faith to cancel this meeting and to move it to a location in district, which is what we asked for in the affected community. They declined. While I'm glad that we now have this online, it was not properly communicated to the public, as you've heard many times over tonight. And it was not in the appropriate languages. And it's a wonderful testament to the community that we do have so many people here tonight and online. But I do know that you need a bio break, and I urge facilitators to please let everyone continue testifying both in person and online until we are complete. But I also, to everyone here, you have my commitment that we will get a second meeting and it will be in the immediately affected area, and we will push to have it properly noticed and in all of the appropriate local languages. But more importantly, you have my commitment that we will work with DEP to get this denied. As the professor said, and as so many have said more eloquently than I tonight, this will violate the EJ law. As a lawmaker myself, we know that laws are only as good as they are enforced. We can put whatever we want on paper, but if we don't follow them when the going gets tough, what was the point? So here is our test, here is our moment. This violates the environmental justice law. It should be denied. So you have my strong opposition. You saw Senator Mukherjee here. Assemblyman Bala was online. Together, the three of us represent the 32nd district. So you have all of your state officials that are in strong opposition to this, and we will continue to fight with you. So thank you.
We're going to take a bathroom break and stop. Yeah. We need the stenographer to record the meeting properly. So, not to focus on her. Use the opportunity to. We're going to resume the public comment section.
It's George Zalepa. It's Z-A-L-E-A.
We can't hear you. You can get closer to the mic.
You hear me now? Name is George Zalepa, Z-A-L-E-P-A, and I live around the corner from the proposed site. Not going to repeat what everybody kind of said, but just to give you a sense, it's been in our neighborhood has been getting bad for the last 10 years now. And one of the biggest issues is the truck traffic, which is illegal, that comes through St. Paul's Avenue. And you know, that acronym, overburdened community, carries a lot of weight. And just to give you a sense of what it's like, you know, these trucks are shaking all of our houses. I can't open my front windows at all. If I do, I spend the next day cleaning because there's just exhaust and soot all over the house. I can't go out in the front yard. I can't talk to my neighbors. I can't talk to my family, who's Italian and very loud, and I still cannot hear them because of truck traffic barreling through our neighborhoods. And you know, when they come in here and they say they're going to add 260 more trips to this already untenable situation, it's a complete joke, right? And you know, I see the maps too, and I don't know, we really kind of talked about this. And you know, a lot of the work I do is with trucking and is with technology in trucks. And I can tell you right now that the maps look great, but the one thing you don't see on the map is traffic. And as soon as these truck drivers see traffic, they immediately divert because they have a job to do and they want to get it done. And all the technology in the world is not going to help you, because you know what they do? They unplug the device that tracks where they are. And it also relies on the fleet manager to be on the honor system to say, oh yes, you can't be doing that. And you know what the fleet manager does? They also want to get the trucks in and out. So there's really no solution here, because these trucks are going to be on local roads. They're not going to obey the no truck signs. They're going to continue to destroy our neighborhoods. So there really is no public interest. There's only public harm with this proposal. So obviously against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Take one other person online, whether. Yeah, but
Hello, can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you.
I'm Sam Pesson, president of the Friends of Liberty Park. We are concerned about people's quality of life, and this is the opposite of caring about people's quality of life. This is a travesty. It's a no-brainer. I praise all the speakers tonight, the brilliant, passionate, amazing, powerful speakers. And if this can never, as the elected official said, this can never happen. They talk about the highest and best use. Well, this is the lowest and the worst use possible for Jersey City and the neighborhood. I lived for over a decade with my mother in her last years on near St. Paul's Avenue, so I know the area where this terrible, awful use is wanted by this greedy company. And I feel that an important point is we want Jersey City to move forward. And this is something that would take the city backward. People want the whole west side to blossom. And with there's a Lincoln Park West nature area. There's a golf course. There's a Bayside project happening. There's Skyway Park in the works by the Pulaski Skyway. And there's a walkway being planned along the entire Hackensack. So that's what we want. Elements, amenities for this city that people enjoy. Someone said, things like playgrounds, open space, and uses that will really benefit people, not hurt our health with pollution and truck traffic and the smell. So that's all I wanted to say. I did see on an email that people could write this company, but it's obvious that would be a total waste of time to write this Pennsylvania company. I would like to know if there's a way that people could write to the DEP, or if the DEP is interested in getting emails, because I know there would be many thousands of people who would sign a petition or would want to express themselves on this battle against this company that wants to harm Jersey City. Okay, thank you very much.
I just want to state that all of your comments, written or otherwise, will be written down. We're getting them all together, and they will go to DEP. I am not going to abandon you to be not heard. Okay, you have a right to be heard. So I will say that up here. Okay, so don't think that I'm not going to do that.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Hello. There we go. My name is Megan Santasuso, and I live on St. Paul's Avenue. I've lived there for almost a decade now, and I have amazing neighbors, and all of that community that we've built has been despite the fact that trucks drive past our houses every day and literally crack our walls and crumble our brick and hit our neighbors in the street. They drive on the sidewalk. They do anything they want. George already said we cannot open our front windows because my house will be covered in soot. And I'm privileged to be here today with my family, but my neighbors who will be most affected by this are not here today. And we need another meeting that they can get to by foot. There are people that live on Lewis Avenue. There's a house on West Side Avenue right by this. And on maps right there, it says you will be using St. Paul's Avenue before Tonnelly Avenue. And people live there in single and two-family homes. And they deserve to be a part of these meetings and to have their voices heard in the language that they speak. And we deserve that. And having this meeting here today proves that you have not conducted this meeting in good faith, and we demand a redo. Thank you.
Just going to switch to a person online. So we can...
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. My name is Fitz, and I'm president of the Journal Square Community Association. And our mission is to improve quality of life in our neighborhood through safer streets, cleaner environment, and thoughtful community-driven development. The proposed waste facility on Van Keuren Avenue runs directly counter to that mission based on all of the concerns that have been raised, which we would also co-sign. We will have a lot more to say via the written comment that we'll submit, but it is very heartening to see all of our elected officials that are there, in presence in opposition to this proposal. You'll be hearing more about our position when we submit our comments. For those of you who can attend on May 11th, the Journal Square Community Association will have its own meeting on this issue. That is not to be taken in lieu of the second meeting that Van Keuren committed to. We definitely need to hold them accountable to that meeting that they agreed to hosting, but we will have one on May 11th at 71 6th Avenue, doors open at 6:45, open to the public. And if you follow JSQCA on Instagram, JSQCA, we'll be posting a lot, so you can follow us there. So for now, that's kind of it, but we share a lot of the concerns that have been raised, and it's just very, very nice to see our elected officials speaking in one voice in opposition to this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. You like to go up, ma'am?
No. Good evening, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Oh. Good evening. My name is Andrea Sapal, and I am here today as a concerned Jersey City resident. I actually live literally up the block on Cater Ave, and when I saw that it was 60 West Side Ave for this hearing, I was in disbelief because literally I was able to walk here, and this is not, it was not, I thought it was like not right for the fact that the people who are affected by this proposed facility cannot be here tonight. My phone's dead, so that's why. I was born with weakened lungs as a result of a preterm birth, which resulted in my developing asthma at 4 years old. I suffered from asthma attacks from a young age, with the latest as recently as earlier this year. When I learned of another waste facility being proposed in the city, which would greatly contribute to existing environmental and public health issues, I knew I had to come out to testify against it. Van Keuren's facility will increase adverse stressors as a new source of pollution. Pollution that is harmful and potentially deadly to sensitive populations living around its source. The emissions caused by the proposed facility and the collective hours of truck engines burning fossil fuels as they idle at the facility will not stay in one place. As a previous commenter said, air knows no bounds. The emissions will blow south and east directly into residential area of the overburden community, as well as into Jones Square and the Heights. Within 1 mile of the proposed site, there are many areas where vulnerable people, like children, the elderly, and the sick, are concentrated and may be exposed to this pollution. Every Jersey City resident deserves to breathe. This new permit application must be denied. Thank you.
I'm just going to ask if we can keep it down in the back. So just because it was very hard to hear at the end of the day. I'm going to take one person online.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Sylvia Villamarin. I am from North Bergen. I live 3.5 miles from where the facility is going to be built. I have a problem because there is another facility, like I say, just across from my street, and you're going to see what's going to happen. I am a living proof of whatever is going to happen if you decide to also allow another facility to join Jersey City. There is a lot of dust. I have already complained with DEP. Nothing has been done, no inspections, no nothing. I haven't heard anything in months. It is very frustrating because, like I know someone has say, the trucks, there are so many trucks. They park everywhere. They do whatever they want. You cannot really. I had kids too in my house. I am across the street from that facility, and as I was saying, I just wanted to show you like how this is my house. There is a facility. Here you will actually see like how much dust it comes from the truck. The I don't know if you can see it, but I want to show you. And the truck has been parked here. Nothing happens. You see that? So that's what's going to happen to you and everybody in your community. So I'm here to raise my voice because I know a lot of us here actually were trying to do something about it. We see everything from my kids, everybody. This is what we're breathing right now, as you can see there. Um, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. This is my first time, doing public speaking and stuff. But I do wanted to say that you will feel vibrations. Vibrations is another thing that nobody has mentioned. Nobody has mentioned because they do the compacting of the garbage. They do it, the compacting, and you will see that your house will shake. Right here, I had cracks from the compacting. Just right here. I don't know if you can see it, but there are so many other cracks, and as you can see, that's what you're gonna be affected with. All the houses here, they have they have broken foundations. I mean, everywhere. We're trying to do something, and I don't want you guys to also feel the same and to happen the same to anyone else.
I know, that Donna.
Also,
Done.
we've been talking to a lot of people in the EP. No responses. Like I say, nothing. I know we see other people from the EP in this conversation, but they haven't said anything about it. We're hoping that, the same thing doesn't happen to another community. Like I say, we're only 3.5 miles from where the facility is going to be built, so that you have an idea of whatever is already contaminated and it's going to get worse for all, especially for our community right here.
También necesitamos que nos soporten.
But thank you so much, all the support. We're here, and I sent something in the chat so that you guys can see it too, so that you guys can also support us since we're trying to do something, in terms of this facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Veronica online.
Yes, hi. My name is Veronica Akezwa, and I'm a Ward D resident in Jersey City of 14 years. I'm here with my 4-month-old daughter, Noelle, who will grow up breathing the air and living with the health consequences shaped by decisions like this. This neighborhood, as we've heard already, meets the definition of an overburdened community under the New Jersey Environmental Justice Law, meaning it meets thresholds for low-income households, minority residents, and those with limited English proficiency. The data shows elevated environmental and public health stressors. So approving this facility is like asking the community to carry more weight when they're already overloaded and already taken advantage of. And it would be turning this neighborhood into a dumping ground. Again, we don't need to repeat history. We have seen that there would be increases in diesel truck traffic emissions and other cumulative exposures. So it is literally a net increase in burden. And that's what this law is supposed to prevent, this kind of cumulative harm. And we would be adding to it with this facility. It's also worth noting that we're having this hearing the same month as Earth Day, and that's a time when we should be recommitting to protecting our environment. Again, not increasing the burden to our communities and the environment. So to me, and this has been said already, the question tonight isn't just what happens here with this facility, it's what standard we set broadly for New Jersey. And if this qualifies as acceptable in an already overburdened community, as I will continue to reiterate, then what wouldn't qualify? I strongly urge NJDEP to deny this permit. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is really for NJDEP. My name is Patricia Cortado. I'm a Newark, New Jersey resident. I live in the Ironbound, where 1 in 4 children have asthma, just across the bridge where the facility is being proposed. I'm here today both as someone who works in the environmental justice and, importantly, as someone who lives in the reality of what cumulative impacts actually mean, in solidarity with Jersey City neighbors, NJEJA, Earth Justice, Tishman Center, Eastern Environmental Law Center, and the Sustainable Jersey City. On my block alone, we're already living with consequences of environmental decisions made over decades. We have neighbors with asthma, lupus, thyroid issues, various cancers, precancerous diagnosis, and these go beyond data points. These are families I see and love every day. And what this does to a community is not just physical, it is the anxiety of not knowing what exposure is doing to your body, normalizing illness as part of our everyday life. It is the loss of safety, dignity, the ability to feel well in our own neighborhood. And it is intergenerational. We are talking about babies breathing this air from the moment they are born, elders whose bodies can't take any more harm, pregnant people who are exposed to these toxins, passing them to their child who have not even entered the world yet. So I asked the NJDEP, do we really want another community to live like this? Because that is what's at stake here. Like any law created, the standard is rooted from the people's stories and our struggles. Under the EJ law, the standard is very clear. This permit must be denied. In Newark, we have planes flying over us every 3 minutes. Sometimes it makes our house shakes when it's so low. And this facility is to propose 750 tons of waste per day and generate over 130 trips daily, 260, like Brooke said, round trip, increasing diesel pollution, noise, and traffic. This is real harm. The application has already acknowledged that it will contribute to the additional stressors. And at that point, it's not a debate, it's a matter of law. And beyond the legal standard, the deeper question is, what does it mean to be a good neighbor? A good neighbor does not ignore the health of the community they are entering. It doesn't propose polluting equipment when cleaner alternatives already exist. It doesn't choose a site because fewer people live there. After all, that logic reduces our communities to numbers, instead of recognizing us as people with the right to live with dignity. Dr. Nikishit said it right. If the permit passes, it'll set the tone for New Jersey and across the country. What we are seeing here is the compounding effects that aren't isolated. It is by design. It's happening in most Black, Brown, Indigenous, and poor communities like mine. These are our slow deaths, and they are the cumulative result of decisions like this one. The people of North Jersey City, environmental justice leaders across New Jersey, and other allies are watching. We passed the EJ law for moments exactly like this. So I urge the department to follow through that law and deny this permit. Because the question is not whether you have the authority to prevent harm, you do. The question is whether you will choose to stop it or knowingly allow it to continue. Thank you.
Take one person online and go ahead, Matt.
Hello.
Hi, you can go ahead.
Good evening, all. My name is Shireen McCormick, and I'm the president of the McGinley Square Community Board. We are a neighborhood nonprofit organization representing resident well-being. This project does not represent resident well-being. It represents social and environmental injustice. There's social injustice involved in holding this meeting 2 wards away from the neighbors it will most closely impact. There's social injustice in not offering relevant translation to our immigrant communities that this project will impact. There's environmental injustice as well, involved in added traffic, noise pollution, and air pollution in an already adversely stressed, overburdened community. An increase in detriment to the health and the quality of life impact on residents and school children and parks. I live within the area impacted, and we just worked, my neighbors and I in our community association have worked for 3 years to restore and revitalize the Migrant Center Community Garden. Closer, there's Kango Park. There's also Leonard Gordon Park, the Reservoir, Pershing Field Park, the Hackensack River, and the upcoming Essex County Greenway. There is no public benefit to this project. It's unconscionable and it's unlawful. I'm for the withdrawal of the application and the denial of the application. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm cleaning up here at the end of what's been just an evening of everyone sharing, coming to this meeting really well informed. So thank you, everybody.
Please
All right,
provide
we
your
tried
name.
to get a lot of information out there.
Give us your name, please. I'm sorry.
This is Sustainable JC's effort. My name is Deborah Italiano. I'm the president of that organization. And we too, in back of the Journal Square Community Association, who had their meeting that Monday night, the 11th, we have our community meeting. We do a monthly Zoom call with the community on the 3rd Wednesday evening of every month. So in May, on the 20th, we're going to regroup before the final comments. Public comment period ends May 28th, even though we're trying to get another hearing, right? You can certainly put your your thinking in writing and have it be put on record up until May 20 or 28th. So I'm going to urge everyone to do that. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. So what I wanted to say is 2 things on top of what everyone has shared about how awful this is going to be and environmentally toxic for people. We already have this already. The highest cases of asthma and COPD, heart attacks and strokes in Hudson County, right? That already exists. Those are the public health statistics that a lot of people don't talk about here already. The vulnerable populations, you have kids and elders and direct proximity to this and all the nonsense that was in that environmental justice impact statement, much of which was disingenuous, to say the least, really doesn't account for the real impact, which the DEP really has, a moral obligation to discern around this. You invited them back to resubmit this application. That is astounding to me, right? And it has something to do with, I think, what is a superseding authority. And I'd really like to put this out to our elected officials at the state level. Like, These people, the New Jersey Sports and Exposition Authority, the NJSE, who are these people, right? So what is Van Keuren kind of, I'm understanding it was represented to me that they're a small family business. Really? Van Keuren LLC, I would say it's a shell for other things. And why do these people have superseding zoning and land use authority over everyone else in Jersey City, even higher than the county? Really? You know, going back, and I'm just going to close with that, this morning and this afternoon, this evening, Bill O'Day mentioned the same thing, right? The concern here, and it's really going to be us calling on our state officials, there has to be some intervention, some amendment to these people's authority. And in that amendment, it has to obligate them to us, right? So this is, you know, skewed here because this is not going to be the last project that they're going to introduce here, right? So we're going to fight to the mat on this, and we're going to push back, and we'll win. And, you know, we're going to save the EJ law because all of us have to own that here, right? But they're going to be back, right? Who the hell are the NJSEA? Who are these folks? Why do they have so many, you know, so much power? Why were they given superseding and by whom authority? You know, our new governor's staff came in and wanted to know who the hell are these people, right? They didn't even have a handle on what these people were up to or doing, or the fact that they have technically, I guess, some superseding authority. We need to take that one up. And I'll close with that.
Hello? Hello?
Right here. You can take it out if you want. You can take it out.
Hi, my name is Suhas. I'm also part of State of New Jersey City. I'm the event coordinator and PR coordinator.
She can't hear. Just tell her your name. It's a big one.
Hello? Hi. My name is Suhas. I'm a part of Sustainable Jersey City too, and actually wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but hearing all these passionate voices and seeing as I was the one who wrote the blog post on Keuren, I felt really compelled to speak. It's crazy how outside developers think they could come in here and do whatever they want to this community. It's not disgusting. I lived in St. Paul's my entire life, and it's not right that we have to deal with the traffic issues, the carbon dioxide emissions, and the other consequences of corporations coming in here and building a trash facility or taking up our energy resources. Van Keuren Avenue and the surrounding streets were not designed to absorb industrial truck traffic at this scale.
Hold the mic closer. Hold the mic closer.
Here. Van Keuren Avenue and the surrounding streets were not designed to absorb industrial truck traffic at this scale. Our neighborhood already deals with congestion from routes 1 and 9 and the Turnpike corridor. Adding a waste facility to this mix means more idling trucks, longer commutes for residents, and dangerous conditions for pedestrians and cyclists, and accelerated wear on local roads that the city will then have to repair. This is exactly what happens every time a facility like this opens in an urban neighborhood. The trucks don't use the highways exclusively, they use our streets. But the real issue is environmental justice. Under New Jersey's landmark environmental justice law, the community by Van Keuren community qualifies as an overburdened community. Now, for those of you who probably already know, an overburdened community is defined as one where a significant portion of the households are low income, they identify as a minority, or households have limited English proficiency. Under New Jersey's environmental law, an overburdened community is one where at least 35% of the households qualify as low income. Oh, we already said that. 40% of residents identify as a minority, or 40% of the households have limited English proficiency. This law exists precisely because communities like ours have historically been chosen as a dumping grounds for an infrastructure that nobody else wants. New Jersey's environmental justice law addresses environmental permits issued in overburdened communities and how the state intends to protect vulnerable residents from bearing disproportionate share of adverse environmental and public health consequences. We've already heard from so many people that asthma, stroke, heart disease have risen in the past couple of years, and this is only going to make it worse. Distinguished transfer stations and MRFs are explicitly named as environmental stressors under this law. The law defines environmental and public health stressors to include concentrated areas of air pollution, mobile sources of air pollution, contaminated sites, transfer stations and other solid waste facilities, recycling facilities, scrapyards, and point sources of water pollution, as well as conditions that may cause public health impacts such as asthma, cancer, elevated blood lead levels, cardiovascular disease, and developmental problems. Our neighborhood already has its share of these stressors. Adding another will only pile on to these issues. The powerful part is New Jersey is the first state to require an issue permit denials for new facilities that cannot avoid these overburdened communities or those that serve a compelling public interest. This means that the permit can be denied, but the NJDP has to hear from us first. So you already heard from so many citizens over here that we really don't want this.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Arjuman Javeria. I'm a pharmacist by profession and a community activist, and Council Aide to Ward C Councilman Tom Zupa. First of all, thank you so much to everyone who attended, spoke, and delivered their thoughts. Your presence and commitment to condemning this issue is truly commendable. Since everything has been covered, I would like to conclude with one key point. No. No means no. Thank you.
I can stand once a month. I just can't stand a long time. Good evening, Charlene Burke. I am the president of the West Side Community Alliance and have lived in Jersey City quite a long time. See? So let me just say a few things about the West Side, and it concerns me that DEP continues to think about Hudson County and certainly the west side of Jersey City for a facility similar to this. Let me just say a few things. Honeywell, hexavalent chromium, big time problem on the west side. Let's talk about PJP and all the unknown chemicals that were involved in that Superfund site. And for the fact that we had a Superfund site on the west side near this facility being proposed, should immediately say, sorry, we'll just never do that there, because you know what? They suffered for decades. And that should be a reason why none of this is even considered for here. Then let's talk about Sea Caucus. How much of New York City Penn Station was dumped in what was called the swamps of Sea Caucus? So as I said, DEP should be thinking very, very clearly about this area along the Hackensack as an area not to be imposed upon with facilities like this. They should be, as some of the speakers said, helping making our air cleaner, our lives longer, and our children healthier. And when they should be sending us trees, right? More trees to help offset all of the nonsense that 1 and 9, the Skyway, the railroad, that all imposes upon us. Let them send us truckloads of trees. And then I think then we'll be a much happier community and a healthier community. So that's what I would like to see from DEP, not this nonsense. Thank you.
Thank you. To everyone coming out, this concludes our meeting hearing.